Hello, everyone. Welcome to another riveting episode of the Success Squad podcast for all things Harry and Meghan. I am Tina.
And I'm Michelle.
I'm Christelle.
And I'm online as Miss Hester Prince.
Welcome, Crystal and Miss Hester Prince. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Everyone out there, we are recording today, Sunday, March 8th, and it is International Women's Day. So I want to say Happy Women's Day to every single woman out there and to all the men out there who are uplifting and supporting women and helping us kind of move forward. Like those women who champion other women, those men who champion women, those women who break barriers, those women who are looking to break barriers, and just every single woman in our lives who are looking to do something that they have been told they cannot do. So I want to say happy International Women's Day to every single person, male or female. And I think the theme for this year, if I can remember correctly, I can't remember it right now, so I'm going to go look it up right quick because I know they posted it. It's like, each for equal. That was the theme for this year. So everyone is for equal. Everyone's for equal. So the hashtag is each for equal. That's a theme for this year. And so comment down below on the YouTube or on our website when this podcast goes up, what you're doing to celebrate International Women's Day. And, name a woman who inspires you to just do more than what you are allowed to do, because bold women are not just doing what they're given permission to do. They do what they feel is right. So, all right. With that, let's start with our favorite woman. We got to see our Duchess this week. How are you guys feeling about that?
If you allow me, I will go first. It's Christelle.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the Duchess Meghan, she returned, it was already a coup under the belt of the British media, the haters, and any other one who, let's say, has made his personal goal in life to hate on her. So,
yeah.
Yes, and the fact that she was coming, but the only thing that I could keep thinking about was that she will reunite again with her other half, because I don't know them personally, but I could feel the void in Harry not having his other half there, and and that evening when she just, let's say, showed out and showed up,
Mm-hmm.
it was crazy. So, yes, I think that it's like someone said on IG, it's a Minito, it's a farewell Minito, and she came to slay. So exactly. She is my woman. She has always been, but she was slaying. At some point, I was speechless. Okay, so please.
I don't know if I have stopped being speechless at any point since she's been back, but we'll get to that. Miss Hester Prince, how did you feel with our girl coming back?
Everything that's happened in these 2-3 days since she's been back is kind of like a microcosm of the whole situation, starting with the economic impact that is going to be felt by their departure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much money that photographer, Samir Hussein, made from that picture and will make? And not only how much money he's making, people know his name. Like, I know the name of a random photographer, okay? It is an iconic shot that will go down in history. That's what you're losing, assholes. That's what you're not getting, Roll Roden. Go take a picture of idiots with theme dressing, wearing ugly-ass green dresses 4 or 5 times in a row. It's like, that's your future. Try to make money off of that. You guys are the biggest losers, okay? The economic impact. The sheer glamour. I'm sorry, the British royal family is not supposed to be like your working class neighbors. They're not. I know people want to act like Meghan brought this dirty idea of celebrity to them, but that is what you need to convince people they should still support your morally corrupt asses when you actually have nothing to give. You give nothing. You basically show up somewhere, like Harry said, to open a building that's already open. And you have convinced the people that this is a worthwhile activity. And we've been saying forever, what do they do? Don't tell me Anne is hardworking. What is she doing? What is her impact? Okay? There is none. And that's what Meghan and Harry have pulled back the curtain on. These people don't do anything. And so we can see just by looking at the two of them together, modern, attractive, interesting, charismatic. I can't think of anybody left in the royal family like that. Can you?
No.
No. Ugh. Okay. So you get what you deserve. And just Meghan saying, for any woman anywhere who has had to try to be less than who they are to make other people feel comfortable with you. When people have said you're intimidating or you're too pretty or you're being too smart. Sidebar, I actually had one of my former staff members who's at another job. She's Black. She told me another Black lady at her job told her, like, you know what, lean back from the table. You don't always have to lean forward. You don't always have to try to show people that you're smart. Like, that's disgusting to me. Like, why are you trying to discourage this young lady? And that is the message that Meghan has been receiving since 2016. Mm-hmm. Sit back, and let people who, frankly, aren't as good as you, aren't as smart as you, can't do the job as well as you, let them shine. Well, what the fuck? Like, she can't make people shine if there's nothing there. Like, even if she dims her light, they're not shining, okay? You can't take the spotlight from people who never had it. And so they are going to be left with these two dullards, the two old dullards, the two nearly dead dullards, one of whom we haven't seen in months, which, look, nobody wants to see Philip anyway. It's like, this is what you guys have. And we're not even going to talk about the family of pedophiles because, yes, Sarah is a pedophile. I believe that. If you enable, you're a pedophile. Every time I turn around and they're bringing forth a pedophile, Sarah is right there in the picture.
Yeah.
So either she's helping Andy or she's helping the actual pedophiles procure victims because we all know she'll do anything for money. I said it.
Yeah.
This is your life now. And I'm just so happy Meghan and Harry are like, we are out of this dumpster fire. Goodbye. You can tell they cannot wait to leave.
Yeah. So Ms. Estrafan, you said exactly what I was thinking. I'm going to let Michelle go.
Yeah. No. I'm actually glad that they're leaving. And we've been saying this for so long, like Tina. We're like, hopefully they can leave. And I think for me, in terms of them leaving, what I was worried is in terms of how would the public perceive it, you know? Not the British public, fuck them, but the rest, basically. And I was like, you know what? How is it going to go? But I think the atmosphere within that family was so toxic that they decided to take this decision so early as well. Like Meghan was in the family for like maybe a year and a half, like maybe a bit more. And she decided to leave, and they decided to step back basically and say, you know what, we're not gonna stay we're not gonna be working royals, we're not gonna even stay in the UK, we're gonna live in another continent. And I'm so happy because what they are left with, you know, the rest of the royal family, this is what they deserve. You know what I mean? When people keep saying, you know, this is, you know, you could have had a bad bitch. Like I've heard this a lot. People saying you could have a bad bitch tour.
I will say that. I will say that.
Yeah.
You like whatever.
People always say, you know, this is what you had and you lost. And I'm like, good. And I'm like, good. They didn't deserve what Meghan brought to them for their benefit. They didn't deserve one bit of that, especially, and I think that for me is really the biggest issue that I had with this, is that the benefit that Meghan would give to this royal family in terms of appeal globally, she will never benefit of it, and nor Archie, nor all the other kids that they're going to have. So basically, they would use her, milk everything they could out of her, and then throw her away. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm glad that Harry and Meghan are using their global appeal for themselves, just for them, not for that family. So that's why I'm happy that they left, but that they left so early as well. You know what I mean? Like so early in terms of the appeal that they have worldwide. That appeal would never be benefited by that royal family. What we saw this week, is a little glimpse of what is to come for the future for them. And the fact that the royal family, for me, and this is also something that I have an issue with, and I want every American who are listening, because I think the big majority of people listening to us are Americans, but the Canadians as well, stop fucking covering that fucking royal family. I can understand in terms of Canadians because that bitch queen is their head of state, but the Americans, you have no fucking excuse here. Zero. So make sure that your networks, don't allow these British motherfuckers who basically spent 2 or 3 years trashing Meghan left and right, using the fact that she was American against her, basically saying that the fact she was American is the reason why she was so low, compared to the other who are British. Don't fucking invite those same British reporters to the US networks. Stop doing this shit. So keep your foot on their fucking necks, okay? Every time that you have one of these motherfuckers who come and talk about Meghan, especially because she's not in the working world anymore. So they have no legitimacy in terms of them coming in the US, them talking. We hear reports that Piers Morgan want to work in the US, that Dan Wootton wants to work in the US, that Victoria Arvidsson is trying to work in Canada, that we hear all this bullshit. Keep them out. Do you understand me? They have zero legitimacy right now. Nothing. Let them fucking cover their bullshit royal family and keep them out. And the US needs to stop covering as well this fucking family. And just watch. Just watch. As soon as if the US networks decide to say, fuck, we're not gonna report this fucking family, just watch how they will descend to irrelevancy in fucking seconds. Meghan brought to them so much appeal that it needs to be cut down. You need to understand that they use her Americanness and her former job, everything, the fact that she was from California, to demean her. So don't invite these same people who basically chased her out of the country to basically spout the same bullshit in the US as well. Yeah. So for me, this is really what needs to happen right now. I'm glad that Harry Meghan got out, and I don't want any of these fuckers to be able to make money out of her after they spent years treating her like trash. Okay, I stop right now.
All right. So to wrap,
can I say something?
Yes.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
First of all, I completely agree with you. And I can tell you that before Meghan, the British royal family was covered very sparingly here. Just when something big happened, like the broodmare had one of her kids, that was pretty much it. Like, nobody was covering their tours, them giving speeches anywhere. Like, nobody. And I expect that will go back to normal. What I think will happen, because Meghan and Harry are controlling, to a certain extent, their own media moving forward once they launch their own thing. The Royal Rota, which we saw, which is why you had someone like Samir be able to get the photo over like the normal royal photographers that we know, is because they're not getting precedence anymore, okay? And now I doubt they're going to be invited to the United States or Canada to cover them. So I think you're going to see other people have things to report. And the point is, if they're not going to be, I don't think they're doing this expert thing. So there's not going to be somebody who's like, oh, I'm a Sussex expert. No, it'll just be some reporter who attended the event will be reporting on it. And I think through natural attrition, you will see less of them calling on the British royal supposed reporters, because what will they have to offer? Like, what they're doing has nothing to do with them anymore. And so I also want to mention shitty, bloated, ugly ass Victoria Mathers, who
We'll get there.
Yeah, I know we're going to get there. But it ties into what you're saying, because I think she struck a blow far bigger than anything we could have did to undermine the British royal reporters. She showed, first of all, do your fucking homework and know who you're interviewing, okay? You don't even know. This woman doesn't even represent who she's saying she represents. Number two, can you do some research and vet their ideas? And so I think MSNBC, who has not responded yet, they look like fools with eggs on their face. So I think, and I might be being optimistic, which no one has ever described me as, but I think that that was a bad look for American TV. And I think they're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about them infiltrating, because honestly, they will have nothing to contribute about Meghan and Harry. They're not going to be part of the family anymore.
No, I think they will infiltrate, actually. You know what they're going to do? And what they're doing is that the way that they speak in the UK and the way that they speak in the US is so different. So this woman, this Victoria bitch, she came onto MSNBC, and, you know, she just put her bullshit for the people to hear.
Let's not get into that yet, because
what I'm saying is that she came and she said something that's so outrageous that people were upset about it. But for me, what I have an issue with is that you have the same reporters who basically do some stuff in the UK and then do some stuff in the US, but tone is different. That is, for me, the issue here. Because someone like Roy Nika, for example, Roy Nika in the US and the Roy Nika in the UK is not the same. Camilla Tomini in the US and Camilla Tomini in the UK is not the same, you know? So that's what I'm trying to say, is that they want to basically come to the US, but their tone is going to be different. And they're not going to be as vitriolic as they are in the UK. But for me, is that they need to be shut down altogether. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, Michelle. I do agree with. I mean, I will not say to a certain extent, but I do agree with the fact that yes, they are customizing. Okay, let's say their behavior according to the environment where they found themselves in.
Yeah.
But also, what I would like to add is that Roya Nika, she has already started bringing an excuse for covering the Sussexes. Okay, last week, or if I remember, it was maybe 2 weeks ago, she said that, of course, they will not be royal anymore, but because the Queen has said that they will
that was Becky.
Cherished.
That was Rebecca English. Yes. English.
I mean, for me, I put all those trash in the same basket. Sorry.
No, but they can do that in the.
So now they are aligning behind this excuse that but since they will still be the most beloved members of the royal family, we will still keep covering them.
They can do that. They can do that in the UK.
Yes,
I don't care what they do in the UK. What I'm saying is that they can't do that in the US. That's why
let's try to move on. We were trying to make this International Women's Day thing. So let me try.
Yes, but before we move on, Tina, sorry, but before we move on, Michelle said something about those different networks, American networks. But let's not forget that Murdoch, who actually, let's say, despised the British royal family. Okay, he also has networks in Australia, in Canada, in US. So his subject or disciple, let's say his minions, are now trying to bring into those audience. Wait a minute. There is no, there is no surprise that they have started, trying to conquer the American audience, the Australian audience, and now the Canadian audience, because they know that these are, let's say, the majority of, let's say, the supporters of the Sussexes. So if they can, let's say, distort or, let's say, turn the clock, or I don't know how to put that, but if they can change things in disfavor of the Sussexes, they will not hold back. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and you know what? Like let's build on this later on. And I just want to wrap this part up, because I was trying to talk about seeing Meghan this week, International Women's Day. And at the end of the day, in the US, if you guys notice, we don't put up with that shit. Okay, so because we will speak up. Black Americans are going to speak up. When we see that shit, we will speak up, and we did. And so at the end of the day, I want to be able to say that one of the reasons why I love Megan, one of the reasons why we support Megan here, is how she uplifts women, how she continues to not lower herself for anybody. And I wanted to read something really quickly that she said to the students in the school that she went to. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more. She said, being in Dagenham, it is incredibly profound, because you can see that Geraldine and other women who had the strength to really stand up for something that they knew needed to be done. This is the best example of, no matter how small you might feel, no matter how low you might feel on the ladder or the totem pole, no matter what color you are, no matter what gender you are, you have a voice. You certainly have a right to speak up for what is right. And I wanted to highlight that statement and that comment that she made, because it goes back to who Megan genuinely and it is, like who she is as a whole. You know, she's not going to accept the status quo. She's not going to accept people, diminishing her and muting her and abusing her. And that's one of the things that I love about this woman, because when she saw the abuse and everything, she said, no, I'm not going to take it. You know, you can have your tiaras, you can have all your royal titles or whatever. I am my own woman. And what an inspiring person. And also she inspired somebody like me and Michelle to start a platform. When we saw that there was no seat at the table for those of us who support Harry and Meghan, there was no voice for us to speak out and speak up in support of her. We created our own, and look where we are. So, all right, Thursday, March 5th, we saw Duke and Duchess. And the first picture we saw of them, and I debated with myself whether or not we should post these pictures, because they were paparazzi picture, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know if we should post this, because I'm so definitely against that. But when we saw our girl coming out of the Gorin Hotel, I was, what's up, Kristen?
No, I said flame. She was just flame. And the shoes was killing it.
Exactly. No, so it was just amazing to see her. And I knew, and we need to address this. I knew that she was not playing with us. This farewell tour was not going to be muted. She was coming here and she's going to do what she got to do, but she's going to be the Meghan that we know. I saw a level of, how do I say, the old Meghan, pre royal family, the Meghan who was relaxed, who was confident, I'm not saying she wasn't confident when she joined the royal family, but you can tell that Meghan was muted significantly from who she was. Because if you know Meghan during Suits and during the TIG and all the other stuff, the Meghan we saw when she was in the royal family is a different Meghan, because she was muted. And when I saw that first picture, I was like, my bitch, whew, like you cannot keep a bad bitch down. Like, I was just like, oh my God. I was like V in such a set podcast where she was like, I'm a bad bitch. You can't kill me. I literally had that in my head, because I was just like, you can't kill her. You're not going to kill her. And she's here to tell you guys for the next 4 days, you ain't going to kill me. And so, bravo. So what did you guys, let me go to Miss Esther Prayne. When you saw that first picture of her walking out and then you saw Harry, what did you think?
You know how when you turned your notice in and it's like that last week, and you just feel free, like, yep, I'm just going to do what I want because I know I'm out of here. It's like you said, and I didn't know Meghan as well before, she got with Harry, but you could just tell a load was off her shoulders, just like when they came back from vacation that time, and they just seemed different. Like, immediately when they were visiting Canada House, you're like, okay, like they look really fucking happy. I guess vacation agreed with them. Just woman to woman, like, I love Harry and all of that, but knowing that the brunt of this has been aimed at her, And just knowing in her head, I'm sure there's a countdown clock. Like, say what you want, do what you want. I'm free. This is over with. Like she said, I got my baby and I got my husband. And so I just honestly have felt so happy seeing her all week. Like every picture of them, I feel happy. Like it just makes me happy because it's like this is almost over. And, you know, when you were talking about International Women's Day, to me, what's the most amazing thing about Meghan is she walked into that family, and I think she had, of course, every intention on trying to do the best job that she could do and be the best partner for Harry. And she looked around and realized the way you guys are living, this shit is not normal. And just her saying, you need to do more than just survive. And I think that's all Harry was doing, and he thought that was normal. And just Meghan, with her non-royal way, being like, babe, this is not life. Just something that simple. I think it takes, people think like, oh, she's so courageous, blah, 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 to walk away from this life. I don't think so. I think when you live normally and you're put in an abnormal situation, you're just like, no. Like, no, you are not going to tell me that this anachronistic way that you guys are behaving, your moral system, this hierarchy, which I'm sure she understood the hierarchy when she came there, but did not understand people would tell you don't work because it's going to make me look bad because I don't want to work. And she's just like, you know what, I'm out. Like, I'm not, this is not normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, Harry, normal people don't live this way. And guess what? You don't have to live this way. Like, you literally do not have to live this way. And I'm not saying it's all her because I hate that narrative. But I do think she was the one who pointed out the way we're living, being obsessed with what people think of us, yet constantly criticized regardless. We can't take a breath. We can't spend $1. Other people do the same thing. We get criticized 10 times worse. God bless her. You know, God bless her for staying as long as she did. And I'm sure Harry every night thanks God that she just didn't just frankly leave him because, you know, it just was an untenable situation. And I praise her for even staying as long as she did. But anyway, I was just happy to see her. Like everybody else, you know, you miss her. You know what I'm saying? I know that may sound crazy to people, but you miss her when you haven't seen her. And it was really good to see her.
Yeah. Crystal, what was your thought when you saw them coming out from the Goring Hotel?
Oh my goodness. You know, just knowing that she was there, I was so happy. I was at work and I was just like, I can't even scream. No, and really, and the fact that the reporters were all confused. No one had the idea. I just actually like this sense of loyalty that people have around them. You know, no one whispered, no one, you know, leaked, no one, not the pilot, no one at all. Even those people serving or working in that hotel, even the doorman could have said, okay, but no one, everybody just kept quiet. And I really, you know, appreciate that. I really admire it. It's, people will keep saying things, but I always keep in mind only those who know her, only those who work with her, only those who, were close to her can say something, and I will kind of believe them. But when you come out of the blue and you say things that actually doesn't stand the day, I was really happy, you know, and I knew, like I said earlier, I knew that just the fact that she was there, you know, somehow she's the other half of Harry. You know, let's say that she's the female version of Harry. And I like the work ethic of those two because I'm a workaholic too. And really, it's only those who, you know, have, who are lazy asses, okay, will never understand this. You know, when you have had everything handled to you from cradle, of course that for you is not normal. And I do believe that, you know, actually the fact that the Duchess just came into that family, let's say that ghetto thing, it just highlighted somehow how miserable people were, you know, around the world, how people really had serious mental problems. You know, every day, Prince Harry is talking about, let's say, working on your mental health. But this is a serious thing, because if you just go under their comment section, you are just like, wow. So I avoid this, because it's a cancer. There is no point. There is no point. So no, our girl is here, and hopefully by tomorrow she will just do it. My dream is that as soon as she does that, okay, they just bought a plane.
No, that's what they're doing. It was reported in the Observer that as soon as that they're flying out on Monday. They're flying out tomorrow. So she came in on Thursday. She's flying out on Monday. So that's already been reported that's what's happening.
Yes, and I think this little, just the fact that they were around, okay, and that they are still around, and just, let's say, how can I put that, the movement around those two make the royal family look so, let's say, so far away. I can't really pinpoint the right term for that, but for me, they are just like part of that, that period where people were just living according to the fact, according to their birth creed. Okay, it's for me, there is the futuristic thing. I can't wait for them to just leave that place.
Yeah,
that's my only dream. And
Michelle,
wish.
Yeah. What did you think when you saw them?
For me, it's more. I just can't wait for her to leave. Like, it's just. No, but seriously, the whole time I was so much against them coming back, that I'm like, okay, I'm glad that she's happy. I'm glad that she looks, that she looks
stunning.
Really, she looks glowing. But I'm just counting the hours until they leave this fucking country, really. And and I'm kind of pissed that they have this huge thing where they're going to play, we like each other, tomorrow they're gonna play that fucking image, and I'm already pissed by that, honestly. But so for me, I'm like, okay, she looked happy, Harry and her looked happy, she looked gorgeous, and but I'm just waiting for her to leave this whole bullshit behind her.
All right, so this is the thing. And just to correct certain things that was out there, because people thought that they were staying at the Guardian Hotel. They weren't staying there. They're staying at the Frogmore. Even the Phil and all those people wrote articles saying, oh, they are staying at a $8,000 a night hotel. And they come to find out Harry and Meghan just had lunch. I love the fact that they went on a date. And they had a lunch date. And after her National Theater stuff, they basically had lunch there. So anyway, let's move on to Endeavor Funds.
Oh,
Endeavor Funds Award. I tell you guys, this was, again, when I first saw her during the day, I'm like, okay, Meghan is not here to play. Okay, this farewell thing is going to be it. She's not here to play. And she did not disappoint. When she stepped out in that blue dress, that dress is about $1,700, sold out immediately. Yes. By the way, sold out immediately. Red lipstick, bold eyes, nice cheek. Daniel Martin, you did that, okay? You did that with the makeup. And I need to know what lipstick she's wearing. I know it's Dior, but I need to find out what shade it is. It's probably not going to look good on me, but I need to find out. I own the earrings that she was wearing that night. By the way, Michelle, just so you can keep count of my many Meghan purchases. But they got out, and not only did they get out of the car, Harry got out, walked over to his wife's side, opened the door for her, got the umbrella, and magic started happening. My God. Magic started happening. And then we get the iconic picture from Samir Hassan. And this is Hussein, sorry, Samir Hussein. And it goes back to, I know Michelle was saying earlier, like everyone's saying this is what the UK is going to miss. the reason why people were saying that is because they fucked up the bag. You had the bag and you fucked it up because you wanted to be part of a smear campaign. You thought that this 1980s smear campaign, 1950s smear campaign was going to work on this woman, and she knew her worth. Going back to the message of International Women's Day, she knew her worth, and she decided that she is worth more than to sit in a ratchet ass family and be treated badly. And now you guys fumbled the bag, because I'm sure that if they stayed, other photographers would have gotten those types of, the rotor would have gotten these types of pictures. So
they wanted her. They never expected her to leave. That's the thing, okay? They thought that
they knew they did everything, Michelle, for her to leave, but they never expected actually Harry to follow her. That's the thing.
No, but what I'm saying is that I don't think they expected her to leave I think some wanted her to leave, but I think the royal family was ordering this to happen. I don't think they expected her to leave, and to leave so soon. I think they wanted this whole campaign to last much, much more longer than how long it lasted.
Yes, Black women are used to enjoy things. Sorry for interrupting you, Michelle. The thing is that historically speaking, they are used to see Black women, biracial women, however you put it, okay, enduring the suffering, the humiliation. So they were just like, it's just one more of them, okay? But they never expected her to just be like, okay, you know what? I will just snatch that thing and I will move on with my life. And they were just like, okay, just go. But they never thought that Harry would do the same thing, because just see the history of that family, okay? None of them left the royal family after the divorce. None of them, they are still there. But at this point, okay, the Harry was just like, you know what? I have nothing to gain staying here. My real family is out there. I would just, and that's what is actually hurting them. Just remember when they came out of the car, some crazy female voice was just like, Harry, don't go, don't leave us, just stay. What does it mean? You think that he will stay and will leave his wife and child in Canada? Anyway, that is the part of the history that actually pisses me off. Anyway, please, sorry, just to go on.
Let's talk about Endeavor Funds. So, let's just try to, kind of talk about the ethos of Endeavor Funds first, and then we can get into all the other craziness that this family has put us through. Yeah. Just so that we can, I want us to focus, because so the Sussex Royal, I think their post about the Endeavor Funds kind of really captured what the ethos of the Endeavor Funds is. Like, tonight, for their third consecutive year, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex attended the annual Endeavor Funds Award, which celebrates the achievements of those veterans injured in service who have taken part in remarkable sporting adventure challenges over the last year. By choosing to take on what seems impossible, these men and women not only set goals for themselves, but have inspired millions of people around the world. This annual awards bring together the Duke and Duchess alongside wounded, injured, sick service personnel and veterans, as well as their family, friends, and supporters of the military community. The Duke, who funded the Endeavor Fund, spoke on the night. The Endeavor Funds came from seeing the gaping hole that can be left after taking off that uniform. The power that sports and adventurous challenge plays in recovery, yes, but most of all, the chance to be part of a team again while attempting to achieve unthinkable challenges. As if being shot or blown up wasn't enough, you guys continue to impress, inspire, challenge what it means to have a life-changing injury. And then that was the Duke of Sussex. Since the launch in 2012, the Endeavor Funds has supported 108 projects that has directly assisted over 6,000 of those injured in service. Congratulations to all those who participated in endeavors over the last year and inspired others to push boundaries of what is possible. And so the reason why I want to, because we can talk about all the other nonsense later on. I just want to highlight that, Harry started this fund in 2012, right? This fund to help service members. And people, we talk about what has been lost here, in terms of Harry and Meghan leaving. What other family member other than Prince Charles who started something like this. Not a lot of them. And Harry has been consistent about his support for the military. And these awards were an example of his consistent support for the military, and to try to highlight that because you take off the uniform or because you're injured, that you're not less of a human being, that you're still part of the human being. And you guys can see at the Endeavor Funds, it was mentioned that a lot of them said that they had his back. And he mentioned he too has their back, and he will not stop having their backs. And so besides all the other drama, it's pretty clear that Harry is committed to this, to his support for the military, and he's not going to stop. And so while the press is trying to write whatever story, like, why couldn't they just do this, blah, 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 we have to forget we need to focus sometimes and focus on the real things. Because in what was lost in all of this, in the Endeavor Funds, is that people didn't really talk about this. And I really hope that people had, was the fact that Harry is working on something where he's going to combine the Endeavor Funds with Invictus. And that was a big announcement that no one covered on that day. And I'm looking forward to what it is that he's going to do. Did you guys know that?
Yeah. You're not gonna. Let me just say one thing. The reason why we are focusing on the bullshit is because the press and the royal family have conspired to undermine his work. An easy example is in 2018, the royal family published Harry's and Meghan's attending the Endeavor Fund in 2018, the day when Meghan was wearing that suit. Mm-hmm. In 2019, they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. In 2020, this year, they did. So it really shows last year the bullshit that was going around this freaking family, where they were actually undermining his work. So it wasn't so much us not talking about it, but the press and the royal family alike were doing that. They were cutting their feet off. So that's why, when I'm hearing now, this is what they're leaving. Yeah, when they were there, you didn't support them. The Vogue magazine, they didn't support that. Meghan wasn't promoting herself. She was, putting women out there. You can't post something about International Women's Day if when that issue of Vogue, where you had amazing women who have been activists their whole lives, whether they were famous or not, you never supported that. That's why that's what the bullshit that they're dealing with. The Endeavor Fund, the work they do is phenomenal. And when you look at this guy, I think his name was Tom, who did that speech. Remember, he did that interview with Harry on Force UK or something like that.
Yeah, Forces Net. Yeah.
Yeah. So he, that interview was so great, but his speech was even better. And so when you have people like this where Harry, you can see Harry supporting this, just like the Invictus Games, and they're from something that the royal family can't take away from him, And,
exactly.
So that's, for me, that's why I'm like, I'm so glad that he's been able to work with them, and he will work with them in the future. Because when he was inside, when he was working inside, there were a lot of forces that were trying to destroy what he was working for, basically.
Yeah. So, like, in terms of, Miss, I think Esther, Mimi's on mute, but but in terms of, okay, good. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything. I didn't, because sometimes we get to talk.
I think you guys covered it. We all know that, like you said, with the exception of Charles, nobody has really created anything sustainable or impactful in the royal family. And I don't feel sorry for them. It's like, okay, well, they will take their talents elsewhere and have impact worldwide and internationally, and hopefully in the U.S. and Canada amongst people who will be grateful for what they're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
I do agree. If I can add something, Tina. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just, Michelle said something interesting. Talking about the achievement of Harry, very few people knew that Endeavor Funds was his initiative. I knew it, I think, 1 year after his creation, because I followed closely Harry, because just not because of what happened to his mom, but I was kind of curious to know where life would bring him to, because in those days there was almost no expectation that he would be the man that he is today. So when he created that, the family, let's say the royal family, were kind of, let's say that man suffocated in that family. Whatever he was doing was never, let's say, encouraged. Okay, remember when he went, he has always wanted to be part of, the army. It's a big family. And when he was there, you remember when he was first removed from there, of course, when the information leaked that he was there, they removed him. He was so pissed because, yes, I mean, his family, let's say that, yes, he was out of security, but then he did everything to go back there. But still, I think they gave him some maybe conditions that, okay, you just do a certain time there, but you will come back. But still, he still had this void in him that could not be, let's say, fulfilled. And now that he is with Meghan, I mean, if someone still believes that Harry will go back to his previous life, I think people are actually fooling themselves. Okay,
Arthur Edwards thinks so.
So, the thing is, being with someone who could appreciate him, okay, who could uplift him, who could motivate him, who could just, let's say, encourage and say, see what you can do and see the impact of what you are doing in other people's life. Do you really think that after everything that he has come up, or he has challenged with her by his side, you really think that he will go back to this miserable life that he had? Let's be serious just for a while. I mean, that's crazy. Now he is like in a journey. Okay, he is. I mean, the limit is the sky for him, because he is full of ideas. I mean, I found it funny when people are still like, we hope that you will come back to UK. We hope that, and so on. Keep hoping, but they have things to do. This is a couple who lives in the audience. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say that they have things to do. Their wishes, or their main wish, has always been to help others. Okay, to be relevant on their own, and to be so. I mean, anyway.
That's why I'm pissed that they still have some patronages. Like Meghan has some royal patronages in the UK. That's why personally I'm pissed, because those patronages are going to force them to come back. There's some that I'm like, okay, and that's not because they're royal patronages, in the sense that they haven't been passed down. For example, I think it's ACU and National Theatre that have been passed down from the Queen to Meghan, I believe. And then there's the ones that she picked herself, like Mayhew and Smart. And so I'm like, oh, those ones pisses me off, the one that has been passed on, because it means that those need a patron.
The thing is, there is no one.
Let's finish Endeavor Funds, and then we can go into this. So I just don't want us to take away from Endeavor Funds, for real.
Okay.
Let's finish.
Let's
what
talk
Endeavor
about the
Funds
speech of Endeavor Funds, please.
Yeah, and I have read
that.
Yeah, so we've already talked about. Yeah, we've already talked about the speech. There was an engagement, and it was so cute because did you see Meghan? Like how Meghan is somebody who loves love, right? And I'm one of those people. I love love, and so I loved it, the way she reacted, because she was so excited, and it reminds me of the Meghan before Harry as well. Yes, how excited she would be. Yeah.
She's happy to see other people happy,
Yeah.
She was about to jump from her chair.
What, Miss Esther Prain, what?
I said she loves a good love story. And so
yes,
she's just a positive person. And I think she does love seeing other people, like you said, happy. And just loves the humanity of something like that, And so I think veterans are really inspiring. I come in contact with a lot of veterans working in the DMV, and I can imagine for her who had an interest in supporting military folks before she even met Harry, having met so many more, and seeing what an impact it can make to not only just help them financially in some way, or the recognition is so important to military people. Just, you know, I see people sometimes on public transportation if someone's in uniform, and just when somebody says, you know, thank you for your service, I'm getting choked up. It just means a lot to them, because I think sometimes they feel like forgotten, you know?
Yeah, so it was nice to see them out. It was nice for Harry to be in his element. I'm sure it was really nice, and and to kind of just put a clean bowl and Endeavor funds. It was the first of many, you know, as much as, and Michelle kind of touched on this, like, you know, we both didn't want Meghan to come back, but in a way, after seeing how much she just put her foot on their necks during this last few days, I've been so happy that, yeah, you know what? I'm glad you came back. I'm glad that you came back. And you know that moment in Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, feels like when she said when she went back to the store that fell to her. I felt that moment.
I don't actually like that analogy, I have to tell you. I find that movie very troubling. And with some of the slander that has come towards Meghan, I get why people are using that, but I wish that they wouldn't. Because I just find it, you know what I'm saying? Like, Meghan is the antithesis.
It has a negative. It was kind of negative at the beginning when they were saying that. Okay.
So I get why, you know, it could be problematic. The whole Pretty Woman thing. For me, I'm happy that she came back and she was unbowed. She was unbothered, unbossed, on everything. Like she was unbroken. And I think that's basically what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that, that when I say that analogy is not necessarily in the vein of how Pretty Woman was. It was more so in the vein of, she was not going to, again, goes back to the International Women's Day. She was not going to let them break her. She was not going to let her take the knee.
What that analogy shows me, for me, is that it's the way that the royal family has made a mistake and let her go, you know? And I've always spoken my piece about it in terms of that they never deserved her in the first place. So I'm glad that they stood up.
You explained it better than I am. I think that's what a lot of us are trying to say is, at least for me, you know, is that Meghan is done with these people. She is done. She's done. Okay. She only came back because she loves her husband, and she's a good person, and she always does what she says she's going to do. Like even the women at Hub Communication said it. They said she always does what she says she's going to do. So because she does what she says she's going to do, she's coming back. Well, she's going to come back. She's not going to be muted like they always mute her. She's going to wear colors. She's going to be herself. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. Unbossed, unbowed, unbroken, unbothered.
Yeah, you know, I like that one more. I like that energy more for me. It's like more, I don't give a shit about what you think. And I've moved on, you know.
And I think that, you know, and everyone, you know, because once you explained it to me and Miss Esther Prynne brought it up, you know, I was like, no, what I'm trying to say is, you know, and I think that a lot of people just have an issue explaining that, you know. I'm glad that you guys brought it, like we are talking about it in the podcast, because then it helps other people kind of realize that maybe, you know, some of us are not good with words. I'm not that good with words. Words are not my thing.
Welcome to my club.
And so I'm not good at explaining myself. And so in this situation, it's not about the fact that Meghan still wants to be a part of the thing. The whole theme of today that I want us to kind of get out of this is the fact that we are not going to accept what box we're being put in. Okay. And Meghan has said, I don't want to be a part of this. Okay. I don't want to be a part of your nonsense. You guys are horrible people, and I am going to leave with my husband and my child, and I'm going to go do good, and fuck you all. That's basically what we're trying to say. So we Endeavor funds. She looked amazing. I knew right then that Meghan did not come to play, and that the old Meghan that we used to see back in Suits days was back, and she was not going to let these people drag her to, like make her feel inferior or mute her or whatever. Let's move on.
The speech.
Which speech?
The speech that Harry made during the Endeavour Fund. Have you paid attention to the first minutes, the first lines? I mean,
Can you read it for us? Yeah, can you? Go ahead. I'm tired of talking about Endeavour, so I was going to move on because we end up going into tangents, and I'm trying to. But you go ahead.
Yes, actually, it's just. I mean, I just wanted to say that the first lines, when he is saying that, when you lose your uniform. Okay, I'm just paraphrasing now. I have it in my head because I listened to it more than 5 times.
Yeah.
So, because they always put messages there for all of us to listen. Okay. So when he said, okay, when you lose your uniform because of life circumstances, okay, or because maybe things that you have faced at war, it is always frustrating until you understand, withstand that it's not something that is wrong with you. No, it's not because something is wrong with you. No, you did nothing wrong. So this was just taken away from you. So just those lines, okay, you understand that he was sending a message. Okay, yes. Just to say, okay, you know what? I lost my uniform. It was rainy. It was painful. Okay, but with time, I understood that it's not because I'm not abnormal. No, it's just that they took it from me. Not that I gave my uniform away. So it's about uplifting yourself. Okay, and let's say knowing that you're worth it, and things happening in your life is not because of you. It's because of the other people.
So the next thing was Harry went to open up the Mercedes-Benz Silverstone something with Lewis Hamilton on.
Yes, I think it was Racing Museum.
Well, yeah, at the museum, the Mercedes-Benz Museum, and Harry kind of made a comment saying that, he made a comment about opening up buildings already.
I didn't really know if it was sarcasm or I just don't know. Maybe Miss Easterprint can tell us something about that, because I was a little bit confused. Mr.
Easterprint, did you hear his speech when he talked about opening buildings that's already open?
No, I just read some comments online about where they did excerpts of his speech, and so yeah, he's over it, but still being respectful, Yeah. Still being. It's just funny to go back to the comment. I'm not sure if it's Crystal Michelle who was saying that these people think Harry will ever return to this, like. I know they're waiting with bated breath for him to divorce Meghan and wake up and realize he wants to be third wheel to Cain and Abel, but that's not going to happen. Like, he will. Why would he want to come back to this? What's to come back to? You know? I mean, I think he realizes whatever happened during that vacation, that 6 weeks, that was life-changing, enlightening, eye-opening.
And I think that the decision to leave happened much, much more earlier than that. For me, it happened much earlier than that. I think those 6
I think it happened. Yeah, I think it happened when Archie was around the time Archie was first born.
I think it happened when Meghan was pregnant.
Yes.
For me, it happened around that time. But if we talk back about this, about the Silverstone experience, I think that's how they call it. First of all, I love Lewis Hamilton. Let me just say this. I actually love the guy. He's very handsome, but he's amazing.
I mean, he always had a baby face, so I don't know.
That's true. But he's such an amazing sportsman, really, like amazing. And he deals, because he's biracial as well, he deals same bullshit that Meghan is facing. If you pay attention to how they talk about Lewis Hamilton compared to, I think his name is Jenson Button, and he's also a British Formula One driver. he's British, right? So they're both British, Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button. But if you look how they're treated, it's so very much like Meghan and Kate. Like, it's so, the parallel are insane. That's why for me, you know, during many months, I talked about how Black Brits should speak up, because it's not only Meghan. It has nothing to do with her per se. Her name could have been something else, but the fact that it was biracial was the issue from the beginning. And obviously they used her American nationality against her as well. But it's the biracial issue that they had, because many Black Brits faced the same bullshit in the press compared to the white counterparts. So I'm glad that someone like Lewis Hamilton was there that day. Harry's Harry's phrase, it kind of reminds me as well that when they go on tour, you know, when the royal family go on tour, they receive gifts from the country that they visit, and one of the gifts that the royal family gives to them is a picture of them, you know.
Yeah.
And Harry already spoke about it. Like, he always feel embarrassed that he has to give a picture of himself to people, basically, you know. I'm glad that he's seeing how ridiculous sometimes the thing that this family does, you know. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that he woke up and he's like, you know, I moved on now.
Well, let me read about from Sussex Royal what the whole thing was. This morning, the Duke of Sussex raced up to Silverstone, the home of the British Grand Prix, to open the Silverstone Experience, a brand new immersive museum that tells the story of the past, present, future of the British motor racing. Joined by six-time Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton, MBE, the Duke of Sussex, and Lewis toured the Silverstone Experience, where they viewed various components of the museum, met with volunteers, and chatted with the next generations of engineer and racing drivers. The museum brings the extensive heritage of Silverstone and British motor racing to life, celebrating the circuit and the country's position at the heart of the global motorsport industry. It showcases the rich history of the sport, highlights amazing history of many who may have been part of what makes Silverstone so special, which we hope will inspire future generations to come. You know, that's basically that engagement. I like the fact that he was doing it. And Lewis Hamilton and Prince Harry have always supported each other in the past. I mean, there's been
known each other for years.
Yeah. So it was nice to kind of to see this and knowing, like Michelle said, what Lewis Hamilton has gone through and is going through in that country. And this is why we tell people that this is bigger than just Meghan. Okay, this is about this a young little Tanisha in Brighton, in London, who is being treated differently than little Lindsay in the same class with her. Okay, and even though Tanisha is smarter, can do faster, brighter, genetically sound better, you know, she's being treated bad just because she's darker or because she's of a mixed heritage. So, and this is why I caution people sometimes when we fight amongst ourselves to be very careful how we fight amongst ourselves, and to make sure that when we fight amongst ourselves, we don't expose our weaknesses to people who want to abuse us. Because, I mean, I don't even want to go into politics, like the Democrats right now fighting amongst themselves. But in doing so, they're exposing their weaknesses to their opponent, who's now going to use everything that they've exposed to fight them and probably win. So I'm going to go off. I'm not going to go off on a tangent there, but I say all this to say that we are in this together. This is bigger than Meghan. This is about every single person listening to my voice, whether you're mixed heritage, whether you're Black, whether you're brown, whether you're an ally. This is about the larger picture. And I feel like, you know, I'm going on a tangent from the Silverstone Experience, but because Lewis Hamilton is involved in this conversation, it highlights the fact that it's not just Meghan. You know, it highlights the fact that this is bigger than Meghan, that Lewis Hamilton is continuously treated this way. In his defense, he can defend himself. Meghan couldn't. Okay? But he also, you know what I mean?
Meghan could have with the help of the royal
Yes.
family. But
The family, yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. She couldn't, because the people who sanctioned it are the people who could have helped defend herself. She couldn't because the institution were part of the abuse. Okay, whereas Lewis Hamilton has people who support him and he can defend himself. So with all that said, and Prince Harry made a speech, and the only thing I can remember from it was him making fun about the fact that this is, opening up a building that's already open. So I don't know. But it was nice to see Harry. He was happy. And, I like seeing when Harry is out, because people always say, oh, he's only happy when Meghan is not around. I'm like, do you see the face of this man? But anyway, let's move on. So that was Friday. Friday night, the Evening Standard finally posted, because we didn't know Meghan went to National Theatre, right? So when they went on that lunch date on Thursday, it was after the National Theatre. Then Friday night, we find out that, oh, Meghan went to the National Theatre, and we found out a little bit of detail about their trip to Stanford.
Stanford, yeah.
Did you guys notice that part?
No, I didn't. What did it say?
Yeah, so basically on Friday night, Evening Standard posted about Meghan going to the National Theatre, and I'll read what Sussex Royal said. Yesterday, the Duchess of Sussex, royal patron of the National Theatre, visited the immersive storytelling studio in London, where emerging technology like virtual reality is being used to develop new forms of emotive storytelling. Recently, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex also visited Stanford University, where part of their learning journey included a virtual reality presentation that allows the user to experience life through the other person's point of view. The goal of this method of virtual reality is to enable us to better connect and empathize with each other as people, regardless of race, age, or nationality. The Duchess pictured here with Nubia Brandon and her hologram featured in the National Exhibition of All Kinds of Limbo, which is currently being presented at Tate Modern. So they mentioned part of what they did at Stanford University, which was they were learning more about kind of like doing stuff through virtual reality and allowing the user to experience life through another person's point of view. So I'm sure that's not the only thing they did in Silicon Valley when they were there, but it was just nice to get a little bit of insight, and they mentioned it. So Michelle, that's what they mentioned.
Okay.
I found it really futuristic. It's reading, telling stories with a hologram. The only thing I could think about was, okay, wow, you said modern royals. Okay, here you have it. So yeah, it was quite. On my part, I found it quite informative because I didn't know that. We usually see holograms during, singing. Entertaining things. That when you put someone that is dead and then you do a duet with the person.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quite informative, really. It's unfortunate that we could only have a glimpse or a little story about that. But I trust them that, they'll usually give us things by, bit by bit. They don't always. My goodness.
The way they give us things is when they're done. They don't because they're not like the others. And somebody said this eloquently, and I can't remember who said it, who basically announced a project, and for the next 6 months, every time they take a piss, they announce that piss that they took, about the project, but they really haven't done anything, with it. Does that make sense? I think that Harry and Meghan, I don't think Harry and Meghan like to work in the background. And once they're done,
this is their signature, right?
Yeah, once they're done, we'll know. So they're not going to be dripping. Broken Britain was announced September 16th, 2018. And Broken Britain has not come to fruition, as in what is the project? What is the finished product? That was, we're waiting for Broken Britain to be fixed. So,
but isn't that, if anybody actually held a real job in the real world, that's what you do. Like, you work behind the scenes on a project and then you launch it. You don't say, oh, we're going to, I'm in higher ed, we're going to start this program, and we don't announce that to the public like 2-3 years before the program actually starts, because who cares? You know what I'm saying? Once the program is ready to launch, then you let people know. Only the royal family, because they want to keep up the pretense they're doing something.
Exactly.
It's like, it's coming. The work is coming. They're just jokes. And so big deal was made of like, oh, Harry and Meghan, you know, they do things after everything is finished. This is the way it works in the real world. This is how it works. I know people in Britain aren't used to this, but, you know, this is how it works. And I admire them for not, you know, trying to gin up a lot of publicity without being ready to deliver the goods. But I will say this. If you are going to do something that requires public participation, like a survey, it would be helpful if when you launch said survey, you do go on some kind of speaking tour to explain the rationale behind it, the importance of it, what, you know, you intend to accomplish with it. Just like sending out the survey and thinking because you're you, who we know is nothing, it's going to make people participate in it with no context whatsoever. No wonder it's a failure, really. And I guarantee if they go through the list of the people who supposedly completed it, 99% is unusable because it's trolls from the United States.
Yeah, probably.
But that's what I said, that it was like a little project that they gave her to make her believe that she was actually working. I said that in a previous podcast. I said that it's a joke, that thing, you know, and that whole family is a freaking joke, you know. And as you said, Mr. Supreme, that it's all about pretense, you know. When you talk about we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but it's like literally years later, nothing has been done. It just shows, and the thing is that when they say we're going to do this, that shit is on front page, okay? They put that stuff on front page, and this is the difference, is that. But honestly, I'm like, I'm so happy that this is the way that they're working, and because it puts them in irrelevancy more and more, okay? And that's really, so for me, I'm like, good, like keep fucking sabotaging yourself. Keep working the same way that you're working. Keep associating yourself with, you know, shady people. Good, you know, keep doing that. Like the more and more they do this, the more and more it shows why Harry and Meghan had to leave, you know, and because it was impossible for them to work the way that they want to work, being in that institution. So, you know, keep doing that. And I'm just glad. I mean, we have this 1 year review stuff that is about to happen. I don't know.
That joke.
Why? No, seriously, that 1 year review, it's not. It is a joke, but for me, it's like, I'm like, please, like, don't, like, honestly, if Harry and Meghan decide to come back, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. I'm saying right now.
There are two respect. You know, these are two people who, you know, somehow they have some values, okay, for themselves. That is respecting the elders. You might be sure that they will come back for the Queen, okay, because they respect the Queen. That's it. Even if she turned out to be who we know today that she is, but just out of the values that they have, okay, they have been. I mean, they would just come back just for her. Let's not be fooled. They will not.
No. What I'm saying is that if they come back, I'm talking about if they come back as working royals. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh,
they're not going to come back.
No way.
Coming back to support their charities. Like, I want them to come back. For example, Harry has this Well Child Awards that he does every year. I think he's been patient since 2008. So I want him to come back for projects like that.
Come back for that.
And
the royal family doesn't have the luxury to take this from him. They will completely lose the sight.
No, but they will not, because it's like a private patronage. It's not something that was royal. Like, it's like Mayhew and SmartWorks. You know, it wasn't given to them. He decided to support them.
All right.
Like, he picked them himself. So that's why I'm saying that I don't mind him to come back and support those charities, but I don't want them to come back and become working royals. But let me just say this 1 year, right? We talked about it multiple times. Just watch how everything they're going to try to do this year, like this 1 year review, how the British press is going to try to sabotage everything that they're going to do. Because the ultimate goal, and knowing how the royal family is a fucking sham and it's all about pretense, if Harry and Meghan are successful out of it, people are going to say, then what's the fucking point of the ones that we have to pay for?
Yes, some people are already asking themselves this. So
that's what I'm saying. That's why there's going to be the press is going to be even more hardcore, because if they were making them look bad while in the family because of the way that they were working, when you take away the line of succession bullshit that they had to deal with, and they're completely free of it now, and they're working, and if they succeed at it, people are going to question themselves. And the thing also is that you could have used the line of succession. For example, they're like, this one is going on tour, don't do anything during the tour. We want the tour to be front page, basically. This is what's going to happen. But the problem is, when you don't have that kind of hold anymore on Harry and Meghan, so that they can, they have no access to the royal diary per se, they don't have to go through their diary and make sure that it doesn't clash with anybody else. Not only anybody else, but why would you report them in the UK? You know what I mean? You're the British royal family. You should only be reported on in the UK.
But I honestly think Meghan is, in my head, a colleague and friend of mine, and you would never take this step if there was any chance on you going back. You understand, you would not lose that faith. So I feel 100% confident that they would have never taken this step if that
they were
going to
come back.
Right.
Yeah.
The 1 year review is 100%, as Michelle is alluding, for the benefit of the British royal family. They've tried to spin it like they're doing some favor for Harry, but nobody believes that. And Harry, believe me, not Harry and Meghan, Harry. There is this idea that they've tried to promote through the media, and you've heard several of the British royal rodents echo this, Harry is someone of low intellect, he's not that bright. And so he won't know what hit him. He won't be able to survive outside the British royal family, as if they have coddled this man and taken care of him, when we know the exact opposite is true. And he has managed to carve out a name for himself in spite of all of that. And his emotional intelligence is so far higher than any book learning, inbred idiots have, that he is the one who can survive on their own. Any of the rest of them, really? Do you really think any of them could survive outside of that family? They would be like Schitt's Creek. Have you seen Schitt's Creek? That's a disservice to the family in Schitt's Creek, who managed to make their own way, but who were completely helpless when they lost their fortune. Harry will be okay. I think what Michelle is saying is also true, in that they won't be able to have official tabs on Meghan and Harry, so they will look for other ways to try to undermine them, which is planning stories. That's why I would really like for their security to be completely separate from any kind of ties to the British royal family, because if they just have any kind of way to get information on them, William is such a jealous, desperate, balding, ugly old man. He's the one, I believe, who is really driving, him and Charles.
Yes, I do believe it.
Driving a lot of this undermining of the Sussexes. And as someone beautifully coined, Willie Leaks, constantly keeping Dan Wooten on speed dial and telling all of their business. But Meghan and Harry are not stupid. The same way we know this, they know this. And I think they are planning accordingly. Whatever they're doing probably is already in motion. They probably have a timeline for when it's going to launch. And they are taking steps to preemptively, I believe, kind of block any interference. Whoever they're working with, and I think you said this, Tina, they are creating a network where people are protecting them. Nobody is speaking. Yes. Nobody is talking. And so nobody knows what's going on with them, but we know things are going on. So I feel like that year, that just gives the royal rodents an excuse, like, oh, we got to keep covering them to see what happens in a year. It's like, no, you don't. But that year will come and pass, and I think that they will just look even more irrelevant. And you're right. By the time Charles takes the throne, like, can you imagine a massive coronation happening in post-Brexit Britain? I mean, I just can't imagine that. But then again, we know they're hypocrites, so they may complain about every dime that Harry and Meghan spend, but, you know, they don't seem to care about any money that is wasted on the other royals. We'll see.
Well, yeah, apparently, just to go back on your point, apparently Professor Maynard just posted this, and apparently Meghan has 2 projects that has not been, I'll read it to you guys. I don't know what article this is from. It's like, moving forward, the focus for the couple is going back to preparations for their nonprofit organization and numerous charitable endeavors. Harry is busy with the next stages of Travelist, and Meghan is working on at least 2 new projects, the insider said. They're stepping into uncharted territory, but couldn't be more excited about the year ahead. It is a new chapter that they've been longing for. So it just bolsters your point that they are done and they're not coming back. And that 1-year review, like you all said, like we've all said, is just a way to get the royal family to try to make them, one, look good, like, oh, we are keeping the door open for Harry, and blah blah blah, and to also give the press an excuse to continue to report on them. And so I say all that to say that, they did that whole Evening Standard thing, and it was the appropriate place to do it, because, and then the Mirror decided that they were going, all the other royal reporters decided that they were going to slander Meghan, saying that Meghan overshadowed Camilla. And so we can get into it in this situation. Meghan went to the National Theater on Thursday. Apparently there was an embargo on the event, and because they didn't want it to overshadow Camilla's event on Friday, where she was talking about domestic violence. I kind of want to bring up the fact that, and Ms. Estropane and I, in episode 59, I believe, we talked about how Camilla and Charles mentally abused a 19-year-old woman for 17 straight years. Okay? And for her to have the gumption to go talking to women about domestic abuse when she participated in a form of domestic abuse for 17 years is laughable at best. Okay? And so apparently there was an embargo on news, any royal news except Camilla's, to be reported in papers, in the Royal Rota paper. So Meghan's team gave, because the National Theater stuff that we're talking about was going to end on Saturday, March 7th. So Meghan's team that was showing in Tate Modern gave the Evening Standard, which is not a typical Royal Rota paper, to cover the National Theater stuff, because it makes sense, because the Evening Standard covers the theaters and everything. It just made sense. And for some reason, the rest of the Royal Rotas are pissed, because they're like, well, we received the word that, Camilla takes precedence. Well, Charles announced a new project on Friday and had a visit. The 2 useless ones were in Ireland doing something. So Harry went to the Silverstone Experience. You know what I mean? So you're mad that Meghan went to the National Theater? Because, and then they're saying like, well, Meghan overshadowed Camilla. She overshadowed Camilla because you guys chose to report on Meghan, not Camilla, because you guys knew that no one cares about Camilla. No one has ever cared about Camilla. Okay? You guys chose to report on Meghan and then create this hysteria about how they are at war. You could have used that space to talk about Camilla. So you have this big picture of Camilla, of Meghan, beautiful big picture of Meghan on your front page, and a tiny speck of Camilla's face, and talk about royals at war, Meghan at war with Camilla, because she didn't, and I'm like, well, why isn't she at war with Charles? Why is she at war with Anne? Why isn't she at war with Harry?
Even hearing you explain it, Tina, it sounds so stupid that you have to say, oh no, today we're going to let this world shine. That's stupid. Like that you have to try to manipulate the media that way. You have a problem then. And the problem ain't Meghan's. If this person cannot garner attention on their own, if you have to manipulate the media, this is so ridiculous. When I was listening to you explain it, I was just like, I can't even imagine being Meghan. Like, we should want as much media as possible because it's like, if I shine, everybody shines. The more attention the British royal family gets, the better. Was anybody paying attention to anything Camilla did anyway? No.
I don't even know what she does. What does she do?
So
I know she likes to drink.
She's stepping on. We know she likes to drink and fuck married men. We know that, exactly. Camilla. We know you like to do those things, right? Okay? So to act as if she would have gotten all this attention if Meghan was around. They were still covering Meghan from the damn Endeavor Awards the day before.
Yeah.
So she still wouldn't have gotten the spotlight. Okay? And I think people, because that didn't even really infiltrate the media as much as it would have normally. People are just exhausted with this bullshit. It is like Meghan breathes and she's stepping on somebody's toes. Camilla, you're never going to be this like stateswoman or whatever your rehabilitation tour is trying to make you. You will always be known as the Rottweiler, as Diana labeled you. That's just who you are. Accept it, okay?
She is the Rottweiler, yeah.
She
literally is the Rottweiler. Like, Diana called it, and so we have to stand a queen calling out the Rottweiler shit.
Right, and she was shameless about it, as Diana told us. And I don't care, though, Diana slept with married men, whatever. That was her response to her husband's philandering. Okay, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but in this case, it's understandable. Fuck Camilla. Diana said she went to her woman to woman, basically like, can you leave my husband alone? Mm-hmm. And she's like, no. So I don't care about her.
That's what she said. You got the air in the spare. Why?
Right.
And so
I don't care about her.
Yeah, that whole thing is, so it goes back to, and it goes back to what this family is trying to do. Because if Charles's court had any sense, and if they were going to, if they had any sense, they would have shut that shit down. They chose not to shut it down because they wanted to use Meghan once again to garner sympathy for the Rottweiler. But they misjudged the fact that people might not like Meghan, but people hate what happened to Diana more. And when it comes down to it, most people are not going to feel any sympathy for that ugly, rotten-faced, yuck-mouth, leather-faced woman. So this little cheating,
they just proved that some of the stories we heard behind the scenes were true, which we knew, was that the British royal family were the ones who had a problem with her.
Yeah.
That this is just evidence of it.
And as much as I hate to bring up this man, and I'm going to bring him up later on, Richard Palmer spilled the tea. In his infinite way of trying to he always spills the tea. Okay, in his infinite way of trying to be racist against Meghan, he spilled the tea. That whole thing pissed the rest of the royal correspondents off because they had been instructed to only cover Camilla, and they were just mad that the Evening Standard got the exclusive. But they don't understand that this is how it's going to be from here on out. That Harry and Meghan are going to give exclusive to the paper that it matters to. It makes sense for things about the National Theatre to come out in the Evening Standard.
But why do they care? Isn't Meghan and Harry irrelevant? Like, why do you guys care?
Because they are a big international draw. As he said, he knows that it brings them a lot of money because the courtiers are telling them, hey, these 2 are more important than these 2. You have to cover these 2 more. But the problem is people don't give a shit about these 2 that are supposedly important. They care about the others. So, but now, now obviously, because Harry and Meghan are leaving, they have all the fucking front page that they want. Harry and Meghan are going to leave this family post March 31st, right? Let's just say that they're going to launch something. They're going to attend something, an event, whatever. How will you be able to justify? Let's just say that at the same time, someone is doing a tour somewhere else, okay? How is the British press going to justify covering private citizens compared to public people, and people who are not only are, they're using public money to be able to fund their lifestyle, to be able to fund that tour. How are you going to justify that? British press needs to cover the British royal family, unless, of course, it's about the money, which we know it is. But it's going to be harder and harder to justify covering Harry and Meghan when other members of royal family are actually working. So yeah, I think that is going to be hard, and that's why also for me that one review comes in, is that it's a way to basically tell them, hey, when we're doing the tour, make sure that you don't do anything, basically, because no matter what, if Harry and Meghan step outside, even in a private way, let's just say that they're going to watch a hockey match and a baseball match, whatever, something that has nothing to do with work, they're going to be on British paper front pages, even if someone is doing a tour,
I feel like they aren't even trying to hide it. From the beginning, when they announced they were leaving, several of I remember old teen porn star Arthur Edwards was like, I can go to Canada if I want to.
I have a passport. Oh, is a Canadian citizen.
Right. And many of them are like, yeah, I'm going to be going to Canada more often. Like, they're not even trying to hide it. They are forever going to cover them. It'll just be like, well, Harry's a member of he's the king's son. He's the king's brother. It'll just be some excuse. Like, they're never going to stop. But what we can try to stop, which Michelle talked to at the beginning of the show, we don't want their correspondence here.
Oh, yes.
We don't need them.
Yeah.
I don't care if they keep covering them, honestly. I don't think that's going to stop. We don't want to hear them.
Yeah. We're going to talk about how we can pressure, because we did a good job yesterday. And so we're going to talk more about how we can pressure in terms of getting them not to cover them, not to bring those people to this site. Anyway, so that the National Theater happened, the whole thing happened on Thursday. Also on Friday, in addition to Harry's Silverstone experience, Meghan went to that school, and I read a little bit of a little piece of the visit, and we kind of started seeing little Snapchat videos and everything. So we knew something was happening, but we kind of, and we talked about this in episode 65, that most of Meghan's engagement were going to be private. But what I didn't know was she was going to be bringing actually the press with her. So it was embargoed, but it was all released. Some of it was released yesterday for today's papers, and the Observer got the scoop first and reported on it. And so if you guys notice, there's a trend here: Evening Standard, Observer, Harper's Bazaar, and Observer got the scoop on that event. And
but I think they got it from someone online, like somebody's daughter or something sent them that video.
Yeah. The video, yes, but I'm talking about the well-packaged part of it, like the part that actually reported what was happening.
Oh, okay.
The Observer got it from like Chris Harrington, who is Meghan's photographer, and the story, like if you go read Harper's Bazaar, the reporters were there. They were all there. Like Homid was there. There were people there. Like Carol Donard was there. They were there. They just were embargoed because they didn't want to overshadow Camilla's visit, and they wanted to release it for the Saturday papers so that it can for the Sunday papers, because it would coincide with International Women's Day. Because Harry and Meghan don't have an engagement today, from what I understand. I thought they did, but they don't. But there were a few reporters there. Even Palmer admitted that there was a reporter from the Express there, and stuff. So there were reporters there. The engagement was embargoed. The way we knew about it was because the kids all have phones, so they all were taking videos and stuff. So we were able to find out. And then there were people and then the reporters who weren't invited because there were some kids reporting like, oh, I can't leave, blah, blah, blah. then you saw the Daily Mail people trying to go into their comments and say, oh, can I DM you and ask you more questions, kind of start shit, basically. But
so the Observer got a scoop, and the Observer is no.
The Observer and Harper's Bazaar basically got the first right to report on it.
Okay, and it's interesting that you mean the Observer, and this is something I actually learned yesterday. The Observer is the Sunday paper of the Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know this, So that's literally not a tabloid. So
it's not, and it's a Republican paper, and it's mostly a Republican. They don't do the Royal. The Guardian, if you notice, the Guardian has written more about the Royals since Meghan has been there than they've really ever written. And in terms of supporting the Royals in any way, but the Observer got it because of the significance, the school that she went to, the neighborhood, and the symbolism of what that stood for, which is women's equality, and the women who walked out, the seamstress who protested for equal rights back in the 60s or whatever. I think so. I don't know. It was 50 years ago. And so that's why they got it. And then Harper's Bazaar got it too, because by the time those pictures today, like when Observer put out its story, Harper's Bazaar had sent on their story too immediately. And so they had it written and everything ready to go. So it was pretty clear that those two got the first scoop of it. Exactly. Most likely the Observer first, and then Harper's Bazaar. And so it was released yesterday, but she went on Friday. But let's talk about, I guess we can, I don't know how to go. I want to organize this a little bit. Let's talk about you know what, let's just finish talking about the school. I know it's kind of ass backwards, but let's just talk about it. It was amazing. Did you see how Meghan just connected with those students? Apparently those kids were surprised, and Meghan didn't know that it was a surprise visit. And the kids,
they had no idea that it was going to be Meghan,
Yes.
I think they knew that a royal was coming, but they didn't know which one it was.
Did you see the one girl, Fiona? She said, the first thing I saw was hair. And I thought it was cake.
But then, yes, I saw it was Duchess makeup. Actually, Duchess makeup. I mean, yes, it shows how, people are, mostly the new generation, they are quite indifferent to royal, to the royal family, the royal member, because they're so maybe so tough and stuffy and dull. I don't know how to.
Well, they're going to get at some maniacal grins that they're like, okay, is this lady well? And they're not going to get much else.
Yes, and most of those young people were star-struck. If you see them, oh my goodness.
The one girl said, "You were Meghan Markle, married to Prince Harry." And she was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God. And then the one guy, when he tried to get Meghan's attention and he got her attention, and she said, yes. And then it was
he was just like, it was quite funny. I think he stopped breathing. He was just like, can you see? She touched me. She spoke to me. I mean, oh my goodness. No, it was, these are the kind of videos that bring a big smile on your face. I mean, I just saw it, and you could feel the joy, the positive things around. I mean, coming from those people, from those young people, and she was, let's say, telling them also, she's like a living example of what she told them. Okay, that when you say something, okay, you have a voice, you have the right to speak. Okay, when something is not right, so just they can't just they see what is going on, and they can only say. Yes, my dear, you can say it, we can say it too. So, I mean, it was uplifting. It was, I mean, I was so happy to see them happy, if you understand what I mean. They were jumping around. They were like, okay.
Yeah.
But I also think that, sorry, Cinda, I also think that if the school didn't tell the student, it was also out of security, it could have gone wild, So I think that they made it on purpose not to inform the student that she was coming, so that, the surprise was, let's say, it was more real, if I can put it that way. Yes, so that's my take.
No, it was hilarious, and it's not lost on me, and Omid pointed this out. as well, as the fact that when you look at the picture that
Mhm.
Megan took with those students, the level of diversity, the inclusion, it wasn't just girls, it was boys. It wasn't just black, it was white, it was brown, it was green, all shades, Muslim, Christian. Like, it wasn't just like, there wasn't this sprinkling of little black kids in the midst of a picture. There was a true diversity, there. And which goes back to equal, the each for
For
equal, which
equal.
is the theme of International Women's Day, each for equal. And so I want us to, that's why I keep harping back to International Women's Day and what the theme was, throughout everything that we're doing, because I think it's important that we highlight the message she's trying to send. And one of the things that she did, and I wanted to kind of go back to this, was she even, she was doing her speech, and off the cuff, she asked, she's like, is any one of the male students want to come say what I think International Women's Day means to them? And the boy comes up, first of all, shout out to Nigerians. Woo-hoo, he's Nigerian. And
Okay. Oh,
and he's Nigerian. He's a little Igbo boy. But anyway, so he comes up and he's the head boy, and he says, she's beautiful in it. And I was like, oh, my Harry's going to get you.
we could all see Harry giving him a side eye that you try. Oh.
But she hugged him.
I thought the same
Coronavirus. Don't touch your face.
Oh. I thought the same thing. Oh.
And then, she finished her speech, and I'll try to post the speech that she had, but it was so poignant because she says, look, as males, International Women's Day is not just about women. It's about men, you uplifting and inspiring and enabling the women in your life and taking care of them, giving them safety. It almost goes back to what Crystal was saying earlier, which is like, there's always a message in there. And it goes back to how Harry has protected his family, especially his wife, and uplifted her and inspired her and pushed her, just as much as she's pushed herself and everything. There was very much a team. And that was the message that Megan brought, is like, yes, International Women's Day is important, it's for women, but we can't do this alone. We need allies, and we need male allies. And when you see somebody treating a woman a certain way, remember that you have mothers, you have sisters, you have grandmothers, you have friends, you have cousins who are women who may be treated badly. And you need to be able to protect them. You need to be able to speak up for them, not because they're weak, but because we need allies, because we need to show the world that together we can do amazing things. And that's what I liked about the message she brought to these young people. And the fact, because you have to start it young, you have to start these people in the neighborhood she picked, everything she picked, it was amazing. And the way she interacted, like, okay, I'm about to be petty. Michelle, unmute yourself because I know you're going to laugh.
Right.
Have we ever seen the other one carry on a conversation with kids older than 5 years old?
My God,
no.
she needed cue cards to speak to this 5-year-old girl. That's how smart she is. Okay.
I cannot imagine her being in that environment. She would not be able to. Those kids would have run circles around her. I'm not trying to be an asshole, or maybe I am, but. But
she does a moment of self-reflection. Maybe I am, but
yeah,
we know she can hold spontaneous conversations
with anyone older than not anyone older than 5 years old. Because I was like, I try to picture her because she's all about childhood development, broken Britain, broken kids, blah blah blah. And this is not the first time. Let's be clear. Megan has been going to high school and since 2002, since I can recall. I remember she went to Watts High School when she was on Suits, and there was a few different high schools that she's gone to, and she's giving messages.
Girl, no?
Huh?
2012, you mean, not 2002?
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's 2012. 2012, not 2002. She's been going to high schools and talking to students and inspiring students and encouraging them to be to like not accept mediocre, that they're not mediocre. And I just can't see it for the other one, doing that. Like there's no bone of originality. There's no bone of ideas. There's no bone of desire to do anything other than what's told for her to do. There is no how do I say? There's a word that I'm trying to come.
There is no genuine thought behind it. The thing about the reason why Meghan connects so much is because what she does, she truly means it. That's the difference, For example, I was talking earlier about International Women's Day. Meghan has been about women empowerment since forever, So everything she does about it, that there is a pure, genuine will to empower women. She's been doing this long before she joined the royal family, and she's doing it now. So everything she's doing now is just, she's been consistent in terms of what she's been supporting, the charity she's been supporting, the people that she's been supporting, everything. There is a line where you can see, okay, everything connects, everything she does, she truly means it. When you have apparently Kennel Palace, that's how some people call it, I'm going to call it like that. They posted something about International Women's Day today. They didn't do that last year. They didn't do that 2 years ago. They never did that before now. So that's the difference for me, is that it's not about, they are not genuine, basically. It's all about them. And that is the difference. When you're saying, that moron, she can't go to the school and be like that. Of course she can't, because she never cared in the first place. She never bothered. She never bothered to do that long before she married into this family. She never bothered that long after she married into the family. She's been out in the open for nearly 2 decades. She's been in the public space for 2 decades. She never did that. Everything she's doing now, she's doing it now because she's like, oh shit, there's this one, and she's working, and I'm like, people think that I'm shit. So she's working now because she's never been into it. That fucking garden that she did last year, or was it? Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, last year.
Let's talk about it, because she's like, I'm all about kids being out and working and and I'm like, okay. Harry did 2 gardens for Setebale. In one, I believe he did in 2013 and one in 2015. Do you think that she went and visited that? She was already a mom by then, okay? 2013, she was a mom. 2015 as well. Do you think she visited? She didn't. She never gave a fuck. So that's the difference for me, is that there is no connection in terms of who she is as a person and the charities that she supports. And that, for me, is the reason why it worked with Meghan. And that's why it worked with Harry as well. Everything he's doing with the military, Centerbal, Endeavour, walking with the wounded, whether it was in North Pole, South Pole, everything matches because that's what he's been about. Everything that Meghan does matches because that's what she's been about. The rest, they do it because they have to. When William talked about diversity at BAFTAs,
it was so ridiculous.
Seriously, didn't we all laugh and we're like, what the fuck? Why? Because he's been president of BAFTA for 10 years. He's been president of BAFTA for 10 years. And he never cared about it.
I mean, you're talking about diversity. All of your staff are former Brexit people.
Seriously.
Make it make sense, motherfucker. Please. And you're talking about diversity like your old grandmother. When we see that diversity means nothing to you, we see through your actions that you don't value diversity. They're just ridiculous. And as far as Catherine giving a shit about kids, it's like somebody was sitting around trying to figure out, what can we have this chick do? And they're like, the only thing she's good at is being a mother. And so it's like, that's it. But she can't relate to other people. Exactly. Didn't one of her own relatives say that about her? That one of her own family members, a cousin or something, was like, Catherine really only cares about herself and the people close to her. Like, she has no kind of intellectual or emotional curiosity.
She said, that cousin said, she has a hard time connecting with people. Like she has a hard time finding like relating to other people. That's what she said. She has a hard time relating to other people. I think it was in 2012 or 2011 that they visited Cambridge, the city of Cambridge.
Yeah, I was living there then.
Yeah. And so they were at a garden party when they were there, and that cousin was there. Apparently, that cousin was also at the wedding. I'm not sure, but basically, the reporter asked her a question, say, "What do you talk about?" The same way they do, every time that a royal, someone meets a royal. So the reporter were like, "What did you talk about, Kate? And how do you think she's faring now that she's in the family?" And she basically said, it's tough for her because she has a hard time relating to other people. I mean, we know this. Guys, you just need to look what she's done before she married into the royal family. She was all about going to nightclubs, going on holiday, and shopping. That's the only thing she was doing. That's it. She
and
was
trying to dress like Jekka Craig. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. But that's what she was doing. She wasn't interested in charities. The whole makeover that they're trying to change her right now. And they only changed her because they know that she's lacking, basically. So they're like, oh shit, okay, we have to transform to something else. And she's so dumb. She's like, okay, like a fucking moron. But but the truth is, she's never been into charities because she wasn't interested in them before. So when she married into the family, what is she into? She's into dressing up. Like it's like, how when you were a kid and you like to dress up, remember when we were kids and we like to dress up as stupid shit, as we want to dress up like our mom, we want to dress up like we had to go to carnival and we had to dress up. This is what she's into. She's like, I'm going to go to Ireland. They like green. I'm going to wear green. I'm going to do this. And this is what she's all about. She's all about dressing up. Like, it's a fucking costume. That's what she is.
It is a costume. I mean,
she's a close hanger.
For her because she went after this guy. And if you are going to go after him, and everybody knows, especially the British, as they all try to act like us Americans are so stupid and we don't understand how the British royal family works, you accepted a life of servitude. So the fact that you don't want to work and you just want to raise your kids in peace, that's not what you signed up for, okay? And so when her idiot sycophants talk about, well, she just, she'd be happy doing that, and that it's like, but nobody cares. I'd be happy doing that too, but I need to provide for my family. It's like I don't have the option of telling my boss, like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to work, sign this contract, but I'm gonna stay home and not do that.
Well, at the end of the day, the word that I've been looking for from all of this is uninspiring. She's uninspiring, and that's all I'm gonna say. She's unimaginative.
She's uninspiring because she doesn't give a shit, girl. That's what it is. For me, it's more about that. She never cared. So when you decide to step up with quotation marks again, okay? When you decide to step up because you're realizing that you're lacking and there's someone who's actually not only willing to do the work, but excelling because she truly cares. The only thing that she could do was basically tell her mom, tell her staff, listen, I suck. So you have to go tell the press that this girl actually is breaking every protocol possible, and I'm actually doing the right thing here. Yeah. That's what she's done. And so that's why for me, we'll see how this year will go. But it's going to be hilarious to see them fade more and more into oblivion. They're already fading to oblivion right now. They went on tour in Ireland. Nobody gave a fuck about.
I mean, the Queen's gloves upstaged them. The Queen wearing gloves upstaged them.
Yeah.
How? You're supposed to be the future. You're supposed to be the exciting one. The Queen's gloves.
Just look at them.
And he's worried about Harry and Meghan going to the Endeavor funds. Like, Endeavor funds are what hasn't been planned for months and months. Like it doesn't happen this time every year. Like we don't know that this is going to happen every year. You chose to go on tour. Mind you, they announced to us a month ago, they thought they were leaking shit. but they announced to us a month ago that Archie was coming. So they knew that they were going to the Endeavor Awards. They knew it, and they decided to still go on tour. So and then you get mad. But anyway, let's move on because we got other things to talk about. We can finish at the end of the podcast. We can beat this dead horse even more. But she went to the school for International Women's Day, and it was amazing. The kids were inspired. This little girl, she was like, I it's been my dream to meet Megan. She's my idol. She inspires me. When she was so happy when she saw that hair. Oh. And when she saw that hair, I think she was a little bit deflated. And then when she saw it was Megan, she was so happy because she was about to be disappointed if it was going to be her. But anyway, so it just shows, and actually I was just reading something on Twitter. Let me find it again because I wanted to read this right quick, and then I'm going to put a bow on this so that we can move on. This guy said, his name is Archie on Twitter. I don't know if that's his real name, but he's from Sussex in UK. He says, watching the influence Meghan Markle has on young Black British people is so inspiring. I hope she knows how important her resilience is to us. That is what Meghan brought. Okay?
Yes.
And there's so many people saying all of that, up and down the timeline. And Michelle doesn't like seeing that because she, it gets her upset. Like, where were you? Why weren't you talking when she was getting abused? Kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, that is what Meghan brought based on, because this is not the first high school or secondary school that Meghan has gone to. Meghan has been going, there's some secondary schools where Meghan was going to, because I remember before she got married, she used to go to these schools and she used to tell the kids that she would come back. It was around Kensington. And and she would go visit them. So anyway, so it was great. I'm glad that the International Women's Day event went off swimmingly, and that that those kids were inspired and they were excited and they were happy, and it showed diversity and the range of what Meghan is yet to do. Okay, because we're just seeing a little bit of what Meghan is capable of, but she's unleashed, and she's about to even go deeper. So let's move on. Last night, Harry and Meghan went to the Mountbatten Music Festival, and it's a festival that they use to benefit the Royal Marines. If you guys don't know, Harry currently is the Captain General of the Royal Marines, and the reason why I said currently, because obviously after March 31st, Biddy Betty decided that Harry would not have his honorary roles. And I have to keep explaining this to people because for some reason, people don't grasp the difference between honorary and earned. Harry is still a major and like a squadron leader or whatever. And he has like military titles that he's earned that can never be taken away from him. There are 3 honorary military titles that were given to him by the Queen, not because he earned them, but because he's a senior member of the royal family. And the Royal Marines was one that he inherited from his grandfather, Prince Philip. And so Prince Harry, this let me find it because I want to be able to talk about it carefully in a more. Where is the speech? They have a speech for this. Why can't I find it? Okay, never mind. Anyway, so Sussex Royal posted, tonight the Duke and Duchess of Sussex attended the annual Mountbatten Music Festival at the Royal Albert Hall, making the 70th anniversary of the end of the Second World War and the 80th anniversary of the formation of Britain's Commandos. The Duke, who is the Captain General of the Royal Marine, joined the veterans, serving members, and world-class musicians, composers, and conductors of the mass bands of Her Royal Majesty Royal Marine to help raise funds on behalf of the Royal Marines charity. And then they went on to post, they said, more from tonight, as they just posted pictures. The Duke and Duchess joined the veterans, serving member, world class, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they just added more pictures. And my guys, when Harry, well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Josephine on Twitter. She was live streaming this, right? So she got there early. She was live streaming it. And we knew, that when the police motorcycles are coming coming in. We saw it coming in. And when she got out of that car in that red dress, because I've been praying, I was like, she needs to wear, like, that blue was great. It was amazing. It was a statement. I need her at some point in this next 4 days to wear a powerful color. And I thought it was going to be Monday, but she did it yesterday. Guys, I screamed. And I've told you guys before, my dog is half deaf. She's blind in one eye. She's almost deaf. When I screamed so hard that my dog ran into and jumped on the bed thinking that something was wrong with me. When I saw that red dress, I screamed. I couldn't, that was my reaction. I was like, bad bitch. And then I saw her hair and I'm like, Jesus Christ, she is on our necks. I was just so happy. You know, Harry was looking dapper, you know, fighting the ground, anything that stands in Meghan's way, he's fighting it. And I was just so happy. And
I think when I saw the red dress, like the night before, when, you know, she wore the Victoria Beckham, and I'm not really a fan of Victoria Beckham because I think
me either.
She's I think she actually is not that creative. You could argue that the dress was nothing special. It was maybe the color and just Meghan. We hadn't seen her in a while, and Meghan looking so beautiful and confident and happy. And Harry, he's basically wearing a blue suit he always wears. And it was the setting, the photo, all of that contribute to the magic of that night. But when I saw the red dress, I was like, okay, Meghan is not playing games anymore. It's like you look in the mirror and you're like, I know I look good, okay? It's not just a matter of, you know how sometimes you throw something on and people are like, oh, you look so nice today. And you're thinking, this? Like, this is nothing special. No, she knew. She was like, okay, y'all getting ready to see what I really look like when I'm trying. And it was like the perfect shade of red to match Harry, too. Like the perfect shade of red. Almost like they found out, what is that color on the color wheel? And we're going to make sure this dress is the same exact shade of red. They look, I'm sorry, I know we don't want to say this, but they look like movie stars. You know, like they didn't even look like real people. They looked so good. And look, Harry is objectively attractive. I mean, we're judging him on the British royal family scale, which is like dog ugly. But he was really,
oh my goodness,
like, let's be real. And he just, my God, the glow up she gives him, just, they look so good. Just so good. And Meghan was walking like, I know I look good. Like, yes, bitches, I know this, okay? And not looking smug, but just like, you don't walk out the house in that dress, in that color, without trying to make a statement. And it's like, yep, I'm not holding back. I don't care who I'm upstaging tonight. Their asses just will be in the cheap seats. I'm letting it all out. And so it's like, okay, that's what we kind of have wanted to see from her, because she can't just publicly say, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? So we just appreciate it so much. Like, we have gone so hard for Meghan, and I think that we've all understood, you said it in this telecast, Tina, that she couldn't speak out. You know, she couldn't in the way that you've seen Stormzy do and Lewis Hamilton and Raheem Sterling. She couldn't come out and say those things, you know, as explicitly as they can about the, you know, racist, unfair treatment that they've received. So I think there were a lot of messages here, not only to the haters, but I like to think also to those of us who support her, to say, guys, I'm good. We're good. We got this. Things are going to be good. And so that's the message I received last night. Just like, she got this.
Yeah. And, you know, and it's really important that, you know, because after all of this, like, there's headlines from Daily Mail, like, why did they have to go? What happened? And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, what is, and then all these British reporters, blaming, talking about, it was because of the online trolls. Why couldn't they just do this here? And I'm just dying laughing. Like, are you, like, they realize, like, I just, we've already beat this dead horse and I'm not going to beat it again. But I just can't. I'm just dying laughing at these people because, like Ms. Hester Prayne said, this is her message to not only the people who have tried to tear her down, but to the people who support her, that we're good. We are in this together. We're going to be in this together. There's nothing that is going to stop us. You're not going to stop me. You're not going to stop my husband. And I dare you come near my child. I will finish you.
On your neck.
Yeah. Did you see the fan cam? I call it a fan cam that Danny did, where she focused on how they were clutching each other's hands.
I'm gonna get there. I was gonna get there. And
okay.
Well, I was gonna get to that. Yeah. So I wanted us to kind of start from outside and move our way in. Okay. As they were walking, so anyway, we got the pictures. I was screaming. My dog thinks somebody's attacking me and she's ready to attack. She's 16 pounds. She's a puggle. She can't attack anybody. But anyway, so they get in. And this is when I knew that, and Michelle and I discussed this on the podcast once before. The reason why, remember, at first they came out saying, oh, Harry's losing all 3 honorary positions, military titles. And even Harry mentioned it, that was one of his deepest regrets, was losing that when he was at that Center Ballot lunch on, I think, 20 January. He said that was something that he actually is most upset about. And, because it was pretty clear. And we said this during one of our podcasts after that we think that the military are lobbying to keep Harry because they know that no one has done more for the military like Harry has. Not Prince Charles, definitely not Baldy, and the fact that the alleged pedophile can keep his Grenadier Guards appointment, but Harry can't. Who has started, again, going back to the things that Harry has done. Okay, Harry started Endeavor Fund for the military, started Invictus Games for the military, works with the MOD on mental health stuff for the military. There's other stuff that Harry has done for the military. Harry has served in the military for 10 years. Harry has been to war twice. Okay, like he has how do I say, there's a word that I'm trying to use. He has the
know-how.
Not know-how. He has the bona fides. He's bona fide, and like he has the credibility.
Yes.
To be part of that community, because that's a community that he knows. I mean, look at what Invictus has turned into. It's not just in support of UK armed forces and injured people. It is worldwide. Okay, there's 21 or 20 nations, 21, I believe, who participate in something that Harry created. Please tell me a project. Please, guys, I beg you, in the name of whatever God you serve, tell me what else in that family that is created to benefit people, not just in the UK, but worldwide. Please tell me. Not the Commonwealth, because we know that that's a colonial tie and it doesn't benefit the Commonwealth countries. It benefits Britain. So please tell me who in that, the Prince's Trust, what? Tell me who in that family has created something as magnificent as Invictus Games in that family that not only impacts British military and veterans, but also impacts military veterans worldwide and continues to grow. No one. And so Harry has the choppers. He has the bona fides. He has the know-how. He has the everything to be the Captain General of the Royal Marines. And the only reason that he's not going to be is because that Betty old bitch, William and William are being petty. And it's going to backfire. And here is why. Harry and Meghan walked into Royal Albert Hall. They thought, okay, they're gonna go sit, they're gonna walk in, sit down, whatever. I posted this on our Instagram and it's all over Twitter. It was a minute-long standing ovation. It was a minute-long standing ovation. And I'm about to cry because it was clear. It was a clear signal from the Royal Marines how they felt about Harry and what his grandmother did to him. And I can tell, and we're going to go to Miss Esther Prain's point, I can tell that Harry was going to be emotional. He was emotional. And Meghan can tell too. So they held hands and her thumb went over his hand.
Yes.
And they were rubbing it. She went over it first. You guys, and I try to refrain from talking about Harry and Meghan's communication, ways of communicating on the podcast, because I know that the haters listen to this podcast. But when I look at Harry and Meghan, when I watch videos of them, I'm not looking at their videos to see what Meghan wears. I look at the videos to see their nonverbal communication to each other. And I've been doing that since their engagement. And when I saw that, I realized that Harry was a bit emotional and Meghan was like, I'm here, I got your back. And then Harry recovered and let her know that we're good. We're going to be good, and I'm going to be good. That was what that signaled to me. For you guys, I don't know if Miss Esther Prain, you brought it up, so I want you to, talk about it a bit.
Yeah, I definitely think they have a lot of nonverbal communication. And that was, kind of that reassuring and trying to sensing, your partner's emotional state. There's a lot of things that when you're that attuned to someone, you can tell when they stiffen, when their breathing changes, a lot that might not be apparent to other people. And I think that there is such a strong connection between the two of them, which they told us about in their engagement interview, but I think a lot of people underestimated. And I think, people really, we know that there's such a disservice done to Meghan in many ways, but Meghan loves Harry, and I believe that she would always do what was best for him. And for anybody to think that she is not aware of the fact that although to us some of these ceremonial things seem meaningless, that, this is the only life that he knows, and that, he has this whole thing is hard for him, I believe, even though I think he is at peace with his decision, and especially the military bit, because Harry has told us that's what he loved most. That's where he found himself. That's really where he found an identity, separate from being the spare. And so, it's just heartbreaking that they've been forced to kind of forced to make this kind of decision where they have to prioritize their mental health. But I'm so happy for Harry that he has someone who is able to support him in that way. And it's just really, a beautiful thing. And just to kind of see that and realize that a lot of things were being said between them that I'm sure they had talked about before. And, you can have all the family in the world. You really can. That doesn't mean you have somebody who's close to you. It doesn't mean you have a confidant or someone who you really feel like cares about you as an individual. I think you can talk to anybody who has a toxic family, even Meghan herself, with the exception of her mother. I know she has a lot of friends, really, really good friends, but it's not the same as having a spouse or a partner in that way. And so, you get emotional, you get angry sometimes when you realize the shit that they have had to put up with just because they fell in love with each other. But I'm glad they have each other. And I think that, they have Archie, and it gives them a higher purpose. And Harry will always be a soldier. He does not need a uniform. And like somebody said, Meghan was born royalty. She needs no crowns, no titles, no tiaras for us to recognize that in her. Like, she is a queen. And so all these trappings you guys want to take them. And it's, when I look at the rest of the British royal family who have play acted at having jobs, does anybody really believe that non-sweating pedophile Andrew really is a soldier at heart? I mean, really? Mr. Airline pilot who never went to work, does he really give a shit about flying? No. Harry really is a soldier. He is a true soldier, and he always will be. And I think you're right. I think the military has absolutely pushed back behind the scenes. Like, look, we don't give a shit what's going on in the family, but, how are you going to basically strip this man who has done so much for us and served his time, So God bless him. It was like when I looked at the fan cam, it's very moving. Sometimes you wish this were some kind of TV show so that you wouldn't think that real people were going through this.
Yeah.
Very, very, it's just what has been done to them. The British royal family does not deserve to survive. I'm sorry. I pray that I'm alive to witness the downfall of the monarchy.
Oh, you will be alive.
I really pray that I'm alive to see that.
You will.
Expect that.
Yeah, you will be alive, and at the end of the day, it was a bittersweet, and I was having conversations, and now I see what Pagan and a few other people and myself were talking about this morning, because some of them, they were a bit emotional, and I was just like, I'm not emotional, I'm happy for them, but just talking about this part of it, it kind of got me a bit emotional, because seeing Harry's face and knowing that he had to make a decision to protect his family, and it's the absolute right decision, and he doesn't regret it. It is still emotional, because like you said, that's where Harry felt most alive, felt most complete, was with the military, with people in the military, and that doesn't mean that he doesn't continue to be part of it. Is not going to stop doing Invictus. He's not going to stop doing Endeavor Funds. He's not going to stop doing Scottish Soldiers. He's not going to stop doing any of the other initiatives that he has for the military. But I can see that what was done to him by his family was a spiteful thing. It was a way to, they knew that Harry was more connected to the military than the rest of them. And they thought that they can use that as a way to get him to change his mind.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Michelle.
Now, I want to say that one thing that I also love about Harry is that he's truly a decent person. He's actually a good person, because him deciding to do that, I'm pretty sure that he couldn't live with himself, forcing his wife and his child to stay in the UK, part of the royal family, knowing what they were going through with the press, but also knowing that Meghan had made the same decision that he's making right now when she stepped out of her life. When she decided to stop her acting career, shut down everything that she was working on, and move to a different country, and decide to work right away. She made that decision back in 2018. It was tough. I'm guessing it was just as tough as him. It just wasn't public, obviously. We didn't see her having say goodbye to her the people that she was working on with Suits, the people that she was working on with The Tick, all that people that, and her friends, like all the friends that she had in Toronto, having to move her stuff, to close the apartment that she had. All that stuff must have been just as emotional as what Harry's doing right now. But she made that decision. She decided to come to the UK, and then to see how it went down, and for Harry to say, listen, she made this decision a year and a half, like nearly 2 years ago, to leave everything behind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the same thing right now. And because it's impossible for us to be able to live in that space and be happy, basically, and that's something that nobody, that family is so self-centered, like each member is all about themselves, that they don't realize, like when you have someone who you decide to marry, a girl who has given everything for you, and then you cheat on her, and you treat her like trash because you don't really actually love her, but she gave you those kids that you needed for the line of succession, and then you just throw her away. It just really shows how self-centered everybody are. But Harry is not. And I think I said in previous podcast, I said that he was the only decent person. And I think Meghan, she saw his family through him in a way. And now she's seeing them for who they really are. And I think Harry's realizing his family for who they really are as well. And he's like, we have to leave the country. It's all about realizing that it's not going to work if they stay there. It's tough for him to leave that place, but I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't have been able to stay there knowing, the spouse that he's coming home to every day is being trashed left and right in the media, from for whether it's on TV, on radio, in print, in social media, and also his family as well. Like his family is hurting his wife, how hard it and it's really hard. And also knowing that his wife is actually working for that family. It's not like sometimes you marry into a family and those in-laws hate you, but you don't have to work with them. You know what I mean? You only see them in social occasions. Here, not only you have to see them in social occasions, you also have to work with them. They actually control your life. And I think he was like, they've done that to me. He was willing to put up with this shit when it was only about him. When he realized that it was perpetrated also on his wife and now child, he's like, okay, we're out now. It's like going through that pregnancy for me, and he saw how she was treated during that very vulnerable moment of her life. He was like, they actually don't care about her well-being. He realized that at the moment, they actually don't care about how she feels, and to realize that from his own brother doing this shit as well, his own brother, his own father, that's for me, it's tough. And when you say that the military was the best part of his life, yes, him being out of that royal family, being in the real world was the best moment of his life. So that decision that he's making right now, where he's like, we're going to step down, and it's going to be the best decision that they have, because he will be out of that space, basically. So for me, I'm just
more to lose. So, yeah.
Sorry?
I mean, he has nothing more to lose. I mean, everything is actually, his future is ahead. It's not, he's ready to drop everything.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm just happy that, they're moving on. And Harry, I know you don't listen to this podcast. Please don't. But it's going to be okay. And you made the right decision. I know that Meghan affirms you. You affirm yourself. So I don't need to tell you that you made the right decision. I think you all know that for the good of your family and for Archie, that you got to get the fuck out of there. And Betty is going to get her karma, and Baldy is going to get his karma. And let's move on. So Royal Albert Hall yesterday.
Yes.
Standing ovation. And tomorrow we're going to see them go to the Commonwealth Day. Betty released a statement talking about diversity. I think this is the first time. Is this the first time she's ever released a statement ahead of the Commonwealth Day? Michelle, you would know. I don't know.
Yes,
yes.
I was about
asking,
diversity.
No, was it the first time that she released a statement ahead of Commonwealth church service? Was it?
No. I mean, no. Yes, this is the first time, because as a Commonwealth country, she usually deliver a speech during the service, during the Commonwealth service. She has never I don't remember her doing a speech before the service. I mean, we know that this is just the PR stuff. Now, I don't know if it is true about her pedophile sons trying to hire lawyers for the under extradition law to fight the extradition part, and then they want just to, as usual, they are shielding behind Harry and Meghan. So I think anyway, nothing that she does or they do is always a pure hazard. So I think that by she has after 3 years is the first time that she dragged Harry and Meghan to the church.
Yeah, we will talk about that. I wanted to kind of just put a button on their visit, and then we'll talk about the church thing. You know what? Let's talk about it.
This is so ridiculous. And just I think the name of the church was All Saints. Who is
All Saints?
Yeah. Really, I don't know if it's just sarcasm. What's the point? I mean, the logical question is, why now?
Because they're using, and you can tell that Harry was a little bit pissed off in there.
You could see his face.
Because he's only doing it for his grandmother.
Yes.
So he's only doing it for her. That's it. Point blank. End of story.
Yes, and Meghan would encourage him to go. Meghan, our girl, she will always be like, no, just bear with it. By tomorrow we will have left.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that's why and I don't even want to talk about the reason why I don't want to talk about the church is because it reminds me of the Queen writing to church with an alleged pedophile twice when the heat was on him for his pedophilia. So that going to church with the Queen thing means absolutely
nothing.
Yeah, it means nothing, and it also almost taints their brand. Like, this is a pedophile enabler. Do you want to be seen with her? And that's probably why Harry is like annoyed, because he's like, I have to play this game, because obviously the paparazzi were there. And I hesitated in posting that picture, but Meghan serves face in the car, man. She invented car pictures.
Yeah, she's so beautiful. She just really is.
I mean, everything was laid. And I made sure that when I posted about it, I said, Harry and Meghan, I said, Meghan is served. Well, I can't remember how I phrased it on our Instagram. I just basically said, Meghan is serving face. And I did Queen _ because I wasn't going to know, like this. I just, I'm just ready for them to be done tomorrow and be out of there.
So are they. Harry just had that look on his face where it's like, God, how many more hours?
Yes. Basically, what this said was Harry and Meghan being the professional that they are. I mean, they're being professional. They're being respectful. And that's basically what this is. This bitch should have done this a long time ago. And like I said, the going to church thing is not enough anymore, because it means nothing. What would have been enough was when on May 6th at like 7 p.m. British time, when this man posted a picture relating Archie to a chimpanzee. If this bitch has actually said something, then that would have meant something. She
didn't have to say something publicly, although that would have been nice. Let me tell you, if she would have made one phone call, he would have been done. But he was back on the air like in no time.
Exactly.
So they do nothing. I mean, somebody said something about somebody getting Botox or getting, wearing hair extensions, and it's like they're blackballed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's amazing.
I think Kate is going to wear Amelia Wickstead tomorrow. Watch. That's her way of digging at Meghan. And if I ever see Meghan and Amelia Wickstead again, I'm going to.
Well, she's worn it since she made those comments.
I know.
So.
Yeah, I know. It's not that. It's because there's you guys go look at Amelia Wickstead's likes and stuff. She's still on that
I know.
bullshit.
Trust me. I mean, I know. The thing is, sometimes Meghan takes the high road too much. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but you know what? These people, the royal rodents, the kind of high profile, whether they are British designers or whatever, who have hitched their wagon to these others, it's like you backed the wrong horse. Like, I just don't know what to tell you, because you're not getting anywhere with these two. You're just not. They have no influence. Nobody cares about them. Nobody cares what they do. I don't know anybody who wants to dress like Catherine. Even old ladies, I think, are like, no thanks.
Yeah.
So let her keep. She doesn't make anything look better. Like, everything you see her on, if you look at the model wearing it, she fucks it up. You're like, why did she do that? You know, why did she make those modifications? And she just has no star power. Lord knows William doesn't. So, okay, they're still in this world where the heir and this order of precedence means something. But that was a world pre-Meghan, okay? And as Diana showed you, guys, it's like the glamour follows the person, not the institution. So, whatever. It's just like, will anybody even know Amelia Wickstead's name in a while? No.
Yeah.
So, you know, all of these people, even the bloggers who, you know, I don't know, you guys may have talked about this, but I feel the need to say it, because it wasn't just royal rodents and, you know, official journalists. The royal kind of blogging world, I guess you would say, that existed prior to Meghan, these people never, not only didn't they embrace her, but they have been openly hostile to royal watchers of color. They have tried to gaslight us and tried to make you think that, you know, people were being overly sensitive about Meghan, and have definitely provided safe haven to some of the worst kind of conspiracy theories and overtly racist trolling, and also covertly. We all know how much I hate the fuck girls. And, you know, you all backed the wrong fucking horse, okay?
Yeah.
So keep on with dull and duller, and your clicks will get you nowhere, okay?
Do you know what makes it hard in terms when you're saying that they backed the wrong horse? What makes it tough is that they have no choice but backing those horses, basically. Like, because they want the institution to continue, they have to prop up the ones who are going to be kings and queens. That's it. You know, they have no choice. That's really what makes the institution tough and irrelevant these, you know, in these days.
I disagree, though, because there are other monarchies where you can have interest and it's not a competition. You know, it's not seen as if you like Sophia and I can't remember her husband, you know, the one who looks greasy all the time, but whatever.
Philip,
They're the ones where Estelle is the little queen in waiting. She's so cute. I can't think of their name now. Daniel and it's Norwegian. But anyway.
What's her name? It basically is the one from...
No, it's the Swedish family, the Swedish royal family that I'm thinking of. Victoria. Yeah.
Victoria, yes.
Yeah, there are different factions within there, and it's not seen as, it's not just like, oh, how dare you have an interest in anybody other than Victoria and Daniel. You know, it's, to me, there is a way to embrace it. Look at how Charlotte does it with Mad About Meghan, and she also has a blog about Catherine, and I'm sure she would say it has not been easy to straddle those two worlds.
And I like Charlotte a lot. I like Charlotte because she's the only blogger that I like, because she actually, like, and I don't like the both Duchess. I never liked both Duchess people, but if you guys go on our timeline, every now and again when Charlotte posts a blog, I will big it up, and I'll tell Charlotte, like, hey, thank you for this write-up.
She's been like that though from day one.
Exactly.
I mean, from day one, where other people have been hostile from day one is the point that I'm making. Like, they saw it as competition from day one.
But that
so they fed into
that competition existed long before Harry and Meghan were like existed really, because it has always been like that. When you look at the way people would the press would report on Margaret compared to Elizabeth, it was the same shit. The way that Charles would be reported on compared to his siblings, the same stuff. The way that Elizabeth's father was reported on compared to her uncle, who was supposed to be king at the time, until he abdicated. It was the same bullshit. So the narrative of propping up the one who are going to be king or queen has always existed and has always been there, and always been trashing the younger siblings. It has always existed, and also then by association, their spouse also is trash. Like I'm talking about the younger siblings. So for me, the thing about what happened with Harry and Meghan, it's Harry has always been trashed long before he married Meghan. Long before William and Kate got married. It's always been, if I tell you who is the good prince and who is the bad prince, I mean, immediately people would say William was the good prince and Harry's the bad prince. That was the narrative that was out there from the moment they were kids. And it has always been like that. So for me, seeing this narrative being transferred to their respectful wife, I'm not I'm not even surprised by it. But the difference is that the role in question for many years, have accepted the bullshit. But Harry and Meghan decided, fuck y'all. And that really is the difference for me, is that it escalated, but nobody, like Fergie, Andrew divorced Fergie, Charles divorced Diana. That's how they had to leave the royal family. They never left willingly. You know what I mean? It wasn't a decision that they took and they said, we're going to go. Harry and Meghan deciding to leave willingly, it's the difference for me right now. And that's really what I think a lot of them are upset, especially in the press, because now you're seeing, they need to work with the press, they need to do this, why they're leaving, but because it never happened before. So it's not even the competition or whatever, is that the narrative that has been written was there. Whoever Harry would have married, whoever would have been trashed compared to Kate. Whoever, I'm telling you right now, Meghan was just an easy target because she was representing everything that they hate. So they used that against her. They used her race. They used the fact that she was married before. They used the fact that she was American, and the fact that she was so good at the job compared to the one that is to the other ones, really made that the attack even harder. The harder they would attack Meghan compared to the way they would prop up Kate, for me, showed the way Kate lacked, basically. So I'm not surprised that this is the narrative that exists. If let's just say that the monarchy continues, okay, when with little George, you'll see how George is going to be reported on compared to his younger siblings. They're going to trash them. They're going to label them, both Charlotte and Louis, they're going to label those two kids as troublemaker compared to George, who is this beautiful, smart boy. Da, da, da. It's going to be the same bullshit. That's, for me, it's like, I wasn't surprised. What I was surprised, though, is the fact that both Harry and Meghan said, fuck y'all, and we're leaving. That never happened. And because most of the time they thought that the spouse was so desperate and the royal was so desperate to cling on to it, that they would accept the attacks, When you look at the way that Andrew right now is, where he's like literally gluing himself to his mother, he knows that outside of it, he has nothing, okay? There's nothing out there. Harry with Meghan, he can see that there is his future will be better if he leaves this family. That's it. And that's really what he's doing right now. And that's why I'm saying that it's going to be very, like, the press and the royal family are going to attack even harder now, because if they succeed outside the family, there will be no justification as to why the royal family exists. If they can be charitable outside of it, then people are going to say, why, if you can do it on your private time, then why are we paying you to do that, if they can do that stuff, privately. So that for me is really what I'm expecting right now. I'm expecting a lot of scrutiny, a lot of shenanigans from the royal family, and but hopefully, Harry and Meghan are gonna be able to, avoid that bullshit, basically.
Let's so I want to put a big bow on the whole engagement of what Harry and Meghan have done since they've been back. It looks like our faves came, saw, they're conquering, they will conquer. They're going to continue to put their foot on other people, because I'm sure Meghan and Harry have engagements that we haven't even seen, that the press don't know about, and that's great. I want to hear about it when it happens. But let's move on. This is a segment of the podcast where we drag people.
Okay.
So, Michelle, I'm sure you're going to love this.
Wow.
Emily Andrews, the psychic, no longer works at the Sun.
Oh my God.
People always get mad at us when we introduce people's names, and they're like, "Oh, we don't know what you're talking about." Guys, go listen to the podcast from day one, guys. But I'm going to explain who Emily Andrews is. Emily Andrews is an unabashed racist and somebody who thinks that she sees the future. She is the person who reported on Meghan's baby shower that occurred on a Wednesday, but she reported about it on a Tuesday, with quotes from people who were at this baby shower that hadn't happened yet. Okay? That's just an example. She's also the person who reported about Meghan's commandments, and then they had to apologize. The Sun had to apologize to Meghan. She was also the person who reported on and identified Meghan and Harry's home and the Soho community that they used to live when they had a house, when Splash Photography flew helicopters to take pictures of Harry and Meghan's bedrooms and showing pictures of inside their house. She is that person. She is also the person who used to do a podcast with Omid Scobie until we had to tell Omid that this cannot work. And so she and Omid realized that it would not work, and he changed the format of the podcast. Good on Omid. But anyway, Emily Andrews is an all-around awful person, and now she no longer works at the Sun. Michelle, this is your wheelhouse. Take it.
No, gosh, I swear to God, I was surprised though that we've been hearing that she's been fired, and then we hear that she quits. We're hearing two different things. What I will say though is that she's a shit reporter, and I'm just glad that she left. Really, I'm glad that it's over. Really, the thing also is that it's safe to say that she has been used by Kensington Palace as a way to attack Meghan. Like, she was an attack dog of KP, basically. Mm-hmm. And now that they left, she's of no use anymore, basically. Now that Harry and Meghan are leaving, you don't need them anymore. So I'm not surprised that people, like, I'm not surprised that stuff are happening right now in terms of the British press. I think I said it early in the podcast. I said that the royal family never expected Harry and Meghan to leave. I'm actually going to take this back, and I'm going to say the press didn't expect Harry and Meghan to leave. And the fact that they are the biggest moneymaker, you can just ask Samir Hussein that. The fact that they're biggest moneymaker, it's going to be tough. I was reading something that Palmer have said earlier, and we were talking about. He's basically ranting about the fact that the Sussex are basically picking which which papers basically are covering their engagements, and he's like, he's basically saying that the British the Harry and Meghan has to accept and give access to some, like, more reporters.
It says credible. It says, what do you say? Credible report.
Yeah, credible. Yeah, he's basically saying that Harry and Meghan needs to allow us in again, because if they don't, then they're gonna face irrelevancy or whatever. And I'm like, listen, motherfucker, you're not a credible reporter, okay? That you report about dresses and shoes and hairs, okay? Just sit down. You're
not a credible reporter because you have a fucking 50-year-old picture up, okay? Get credible by putting like a real picture up. Until then, shut up. You're not credible.
I think they're realizing what he said. Also, he said that because we're talking about how they backed the wrong horses, but these are the horses that they have no choice but to back those horses, basically. And the reason is because they're going to be king and queen. If they want the institution to continue, which I'm guessing those war reporters want, if you decide to become a war reporter, it's not because you're a Republican, you like the monarchy. So I guess that's why you decided to cover the royals. So if you want the institution to continue, you have to prop up the ones who are going to be the head of that institution in years to come. But the problem is, and this is the issue right now, and this is the issue that happens, honestly, when you have a 21st century monarchy, is that people like you and I, for example, we don't give a shit about the line of succession. We don't support someone based on where they sit on that line. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because, you connect more with people's personality and relatability, than someone's position, in the line of succession. So for me, that is, I think for us, that's why we actually celebrating the fact that Harry and Meghan are leaving the royal family instead of them staying in the royal family. You know what I mean? Like, we don't care. So what they're realizing is that Harry and Meghan are a big international draw. That's what he said. And that is a problem, because the rest of the royal family, especially those who are going to be kings and queens, don't have that draw, basically. Mm-hmm. So it really becomes an issue right now, because they are facing two people who are supposed to be irrelevant in line of succession wise, but in terms of appeal worldwide are on top of the others, like by insane, like crazy. And that, they had William and Kate had a tour like last week. It never made the front pages. Like, nobody cared about. And this is really what they're facing right now. So they're facing with two people who are supposedly relevant, but people want to hear more about them than the ones who are supposed to be relevant. And it's that dichotomy that they're like, oh shit, what are we going to do now? What do we do? Do we report the ones who are going to be kings and queens, or do we report the ones we know are going to make us a lot of money? We'll see.
For those of us who are celebrating Emily Andrews' demise, I'm sure that she's going to show up somewhere soon, purporting herself to be a royal expert. Yeah. She's already saying that on her thing, but as Miss Hester Prayne always says, she's too ugly for TV.
Yes, please, in a sea
she's too ugly for American TV, right? But not British TV.
Not British. She fits in. Did you see somebody tweeted today? It was like 8 of the ugliest female, like British female royal correspondents, and even in that sea of
I didn't see that.
Emily still stood out. It's like, guess what, Emu? You are number one in that group anyway.
I love when people do the starter pack of Meghan haters, and it's like,
oh yeah, the starter pack.
Oh, it's so bad. I can't. But anyway, let's move on to another. Go ahead.
No, we cannot move on yet, because I feel
okay.
Emu has been a major foe of the Sussexes. So we need to celebrate her demise, especially since the beginning of the year. She was like taunting people about all this big money they bought her. Bet you didn't know that was going to be one of your last checks, did you, bitch? It's like, we are so happy, because I remember saying during one of the first podcasts I was invited on, our goal should be to go after their checks. I was talking about Camel Toe, Camilla Tominey at the time, but this applies to all of them.
I'm
And this
working
is
on, by
long
the way,
before we
guys,
knew.
I'm working on Camilo Tomani's checks, at least here in the US. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
This is how you hurt them. Go after their coins. Now, we didn't know that Meghan and Harry was going to strike the biggest blow, but that's the only thing that really matters to them, because like somebody said, all they ever have been is a paycheck to these reporters. Somebody, I don't know if you guys saw it, but somebody published an article by she's not one of the typical royal correspondents, but she had followed them on the trip to Ireland, and she was saying how, how the male correspondents were saying like Meghan's too sexy, and they were
so
just,
Arthur Edwards is probably that one. Yeah.
Oh, Arthur Edwards, no neck, like the normal crew. And her point was that she realized like Meghan is not even a real person to them. Like she's just money.
Harry
and
told us
that's
that.
why they can say these horrible things about her. And it's like, okay, well, guess what? Our goal is to help you lose money. So, Emu, whether you got fired or you quit, guess what? The gig is up, okay? So we know we hit your pocketbooks. And you will not, with a face like that, you will never be on American TV. A face and a voice like that, no. Stay with the uglies where you belong. No offense to the British listeners. I think probably Black British people just look better naturally. No offense again. But it's something in the water. I just don't understand this level of national ugliness. Like, the women just look bad. I don't get it. Like, seriously.
But, you know, when
bad
inside
teeth,
you are
faces.
ugly, you can only come outside. You know what we say, that the beauty, you are beautiful inside and out. I think it's the same thing with ugliness. So if you are ugly inside, you can't expect the person to be beautiful outside. But just about that Andrews, I think that I'm not kind of jumping around because she lost, let's say, her job there. It's also, we are also living in a world of bursts, which means that it can just be like because people were talking so much and were complaining, that's why the Sun just broke her. But this doesn't mean that tomorrow they will not hire her back. Remember the guy from that radio station? Sorry, the guy was actually kicked out, and then they hired the guy back. So it's just, for me, it's all just about pretense and the PR stunt. That's it.
Well, no, I mean, for Emily Andrews, she wasn't fired because of lawsuits or complaints or whatever.
No,
so let's be clear. Emily Andrews was getting awards as getting all the scoop and everything. And so if she left the Sun on an amicable manner, you would have seen
she would have announced
them doing. They would have done send-aways for her, like when Victoria Murphy left the Mirror. Everyone knew she was leaving. They did all the send-off for her. There were pictures of her leaving the Mirror to go to Town and Country. When Katie Nichols left Daily Mail for Vanity Fair, they did all this stuff, to kind of, bid her a farewell. This was done so quietly that you can tell that it wasn't an amicable split.
Right.
And it wasn't like she wasn't moving on to bigger and better things. Now, that said, it wasn't because we all complained about her. The Sun did not suddenly get any kind of conscience. I mean, they still have Dan Wootton, for God's sake. But word on the street was that she fell out with Dan Wootton, and that Dan Wootton was stealing all of her exclusive and passing it off as his own. Because if you notice, most of the exclusives about Harry and Meghan leaving, Harry and Meghan coming back, or anything that had to do with Harry and Meghan was coming from Dan Wootton since the beginning of the year.
And it didn't used to be. Yeah.
It didn't used to be. It was Emily Andrews who broke that. They were, the day before they announced that they were splitting households, and all of that stuff. So, or that their foundation, blah, blah, blah. So Emily Andrews has been, I remember Roya Nikkhah and Emily Andrews getting into a fight because they were trying to figure out who broke the news first, because Roya Nikkhah kind of had a story about the household splitting months before, like a month or so before Emily Andrews. And so Roya Nikkhah felt like she was the one who broke it, blah, blah, blah. But with all that said, it's not an amicable split. And let's be clear about that. So it wasn't an amicable split. It's not going to be. It wasn't like so. I don't think it's the same as Danny Baker though, because it wasn't that the son decided to get a conscience
No.
and fire her or anything. No, she left, or they didn't fire her.
Right.
She probably left because she was upset of the way that she was being treated, or that the fact that they were still in her school.
Or they may have let her go because you've been hearing that there have been a lot of, circulation problems. Whatever the cause, though, she wasn't let go because she did any particular thing. But the fact, like Tina is saying, that it was nobody mentioned it. And you know how those rural rodents stick together. Nobody mentioned it. It wasn't a good luck, enjoyed working with you, complete silence. It wasn't until it was a fan who pointed it out, who was like, it doesn't say that she works for the Sun anymore. And then it was like,
royal expert. Yeah, like her bio said royal expert. And that's when and then, she started retweeting, that there was this lady, Victoria Ward, wrote a shady tweet about KP and the Ireland tour. I have to find it. Victoria Ward wrote
the one who said that Catherine wore 40 Shades of Green.
Yes, and that no one cared about them, and because I remember Jobo commenting on that, and a few I think Victoria Ward wrote a shady tweet about their trip to Ireland, and Emily Andrews retweeted that, and she would never have done that before.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Let me go find it because
I think Dan Wooten wasn't even a rural reporter. He more reported on like celebrity stuff, like music a lot. So when he started doing all these inside drops, it was like, what? But now what you're saying makes perfect sense. There's definitely a connection.
For me, I think what happened is Dan Wooten basically got the connection that Emily Andrew had when she used to work with the Sun. So he's friends with, what's his name? Simon something.
He's the private secretary of KP, I think.
Is it Simon Case, Tina?
Yeah, Simon Case, yeah.
So Dan Wooten is friends with Simon Case. And my guess is Emily Andrews had that connection as well. And then basically that Simon guy decided to give his exclusive to Dan instead of Emily Andrews, basically.
Well, apparently Emily Andrews was the one that was getting the exclusive, and Dan was taking it because Dan is also the executive editor of The Sun. So he can take whatever story he wants.
Put his
basically.
Name on,
yeah, and so I mean,
and he's an asshole. So I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah, so that's the story. So, are we beat the dead horse on Emily Andrews, or do you want to keep going? Miss Esther,
we have beat the dead horse that is Emily Andrews. Yes.
Please move on.
Okay, let's move on to another hater, Victoria Mather, and I'm gonna take this on because
okay, I'm shutting down. I fuck her.
Yeah, but I'm gonna take this on because I woke up yesterday and I saw that bitch. I saw that video and I went into destroy mode. I'm like, I am going to take this bitch down. And I started reaching out to people. I reached out to AFWA. I reached out to so many people, and I'm like, what do we do? And everyone advised. They were like, you put that video out there, you put a call to action, and you keep tagging MSNBC, you keep tagging Vanity Fair, you keep tagging people who work at that network, you keep it on. You do not stop until somebody pays attention. And that's what I did yesterday. That's what a bunch of Success Squad people did yesterday. We just kept going because I was just like, I'm not going to let this go. We need to make an example. And it goes back to what we said at the top of this podcast, is that we have to make sure that we do not import that brand of narrative that they have on Meghan. We do not let it take foothold here in America. And that we will push back. And that and I continue to urge people, and it goes back to what Miss Esther Prayne said. You know, we cannot allow these people to get a cash a check. We cannot allow them to cash checks on our backs. So instead of us, we do a great job. And I wrote a whole tweet, and I can read it. Let me go find it because I posted it on IG. It's easier for me to find it on IG than on Twitter because I tweet too much. I posted the video, and some people are like, why aren't you posting the video? You'll spread. I'm like, no, because I was advised by lawyers, media personality, and other people to post the video and give people the jarring reality. I said, Success Squad, what we all need to do is get behind, what we all need to get behind is not allowing this racist, bigoted narrative from the UK about Meghan Markle take foot in the mainstream US. We need to make a concerted effort to go after the advertisers for today's MSNBC show that allowed the racist Victoria Mather on. We have the power to push back, and the best way is to go after advertising and write into executives of these networks. Let's find shows like this and figure out what companies advertise during the hate segment and start a movement. We are not accepting racism. Yes, we do great. We do amazing on Twitter and social media. Keep it up. But let's turn up the heat. Let's hit their pockets until they cancel all contracts with these British royal rodents who spew hate on American TV about Meghan, and start tweeting networks to have better people on. Our hope is, regardless of any issues we have as a group, we put those aside to get behind stopping hate from seeping into our everyday lives. Let's come together and fight this together. Let's go after the advertisers of this segment. This should never happen. We need help researching advertisers. So I say, I'm reading it because I wanted to make it clear that it was effective. We started researching. People were forwarding me advertisers' name. People were writing letters. They were sending to me, like they wrote advertisers during the segment. We were tagging the anchor of that segment on Twitter. People were going after Victoria Mather. Still, Vanity Fair came out and said, "Oh, this lady hasn't even written for us. She hasn't done anything for us since 2018." And basically she was too ashamed of her current job that she was using her old job, but to kind of pretend for who she is. This lady is unabashed racist, and MSNBC has still not come out and apologized to Meghan for bringing on this person and for not doing their due diligence. So for that, I say, let's keep pushing. Let's keep going after the advertisers. Let's keep writing their executive until MSNBC comes out and say something. Because of us tweeting and tagging people, Roland Martin, Soledad O'Brien, there was so many people, even BuzzFeed wrote an article about it, saying how fucked up this is, to the point that Vanity Fair had to come out and say no. And this morning I posted an update. She finally changed her bio to say that she works for Airmail, not Vanity Fair. And Vanity Fair does have a problem. They hire Katie Nichols. If you guys know who Katie Nichols is, she's the one who's tapping Harry's phones, who is being named as paying for phone conversation, voicemail for Harry, between Harry and Chelsea Davy and stuff. So she is their royal correspondent. And then they also have Josh Duboff, or whatever his name is, who is a complete Meghan hater. So we need to show concerted effort. We need to show unity. We need to stop acting emotionally. Most times we do. I get it, we sometimes we can't control our emotions. I'm the same way. But when things like this happen, we need to get behind each other, and we need to start doing things in a systematic way. And it goes back to what Miss Esther Prayne said. We need to go after these people's checks. Okay? At the end of the day, a media personality who's also a lawyer told me, she said, at the end of the day, there are contracts that these networks have with these royal reporters. And these contracts can be invalidated by going after the advertisers. Because the networks are not going to break a contract because it costs them money to. But if people start going after the advertiser, and then that means that the return for investment is not worth it for them. And that's a way that they can break contracts. So we need to go after advertisers. They bring that shit here, we go after their advertisers. And that's, that goes back to what Michelle was saying. we do enough on Twitter, that's great. But do it on Twitter and then back it up by following it up with an email, with a letter, with going after the advertisers and, like, hey, SpongeBob SquarePants, you support hate and racism? Here's a video. Here's a video where you advertise during this segment. And then you post that on Twitter, the response you get from them.
What I was saying earlier as well is that for me, it wasn't only, people who come and say horrible shit like this fucking woman did, okay? It wasn't only that. I was saying also that the reporters who don't say something like that and tend to appear supportive of Meghan, but they do it only in the UK, on the US networks, because once they go into UK, they spout the same bullshit. I have an issue with that. For me, it's not only this woman who came and said what she said. It's not that. It's when I see Veronica who goes and talk to, I don't know which, I think maybe she just GMA or whatever, something like that. She goes and she talks about Harry and Meghan stepping down, and you feel like what she's saying is not
right.
Not bad.
If you don't know, I agree. Yeah,
what she's saying is not bad, but then you read her articles that she writes on the Times, and what she says when she's interviewed by Sky News or whatever, you see the real person. So that I have an issue with that. For me, it's not only about what they're saying. For me, it's blocking all these people altogether. I don't want British reporters to come to the UK, to come to the US to report about a woman that they chased out of their country. Fuck that.
So
Keep them
call
out.
The call to action for this, for people, is when we see these royal reporters on those segments, we go after their advertisers. We show that when we show the network that they have, and part of the problem with this Victoria Mather lady was that it wasn't because she's a racist. Yes, she is a racist. But part of the reason why I'm saying MSNBC needs to come out and apologize and make sure that they make clear that they were wrong in not doing their research, because it has been reported since 2012 that this woman is a racist. There's articles out there about her, okay, that she's a racist. And if they had done their due diligence, they would never have had her on that show. And that's part of it, because, so I understand that we don't want to see these people, but we have to hold the networks accountable for letting people who have hate. I mean, the same way that we don't let hate, like whenever we know somebody is openly hateful, the only place they can go talk about their hatefulness is on Fox News or whatever platform they create for themselves. The same thing. We need to start showing like the things that Robert Jobson has said, where he leaves ABC and being all nice and flowery and goes to Australian TV right after and said complete opposite of what he said. We need to show that to the advertisers.
But we do that. I know every time Camilla appears, people do that.
We don't do it to the advertisers. We do it to the network.
Not to the advertisers. You're right. That's a new tactic. But they have objected.
Yes, but this is the thing. Networks, again, contracts are involved. Camilla Tommani is under a contract, okay? They are not going to break a contract just because people don't like Camilla Tommani. The way they're going to break a contract is going after, if we went after their advertising and we get groups like Stop Funding Hate and all that stuff to back our campaign against Camilla Tommani, that would make more sense. I made a video showing how Camilla was talking about hatefulness. If we pointed that video to Stop Funding Hate and then they help us go after their advertisers, I guarantee you that Today's Show and MSN and NBC will drop Camilla Tommani in the minute, because those advertisers are not going to want to be, they're not going to want to be associated with the shit that Camilla Tommani says. So we can talk to the network till we're blue in the face. At the end of the day, money talks, okay? And talks two ways for them. If they break their contract with Camilla Tommani because people don't like Camilla Tommani, she can sue them. And also, if they break that, and then if they're not going to, so they don't want to be sued. Also, they need those advertisers' dollars. So we go after the advertising dollars because we know if her return on investment, if her appearance is affecting their bottom line, then they have to stop her from coming on their show. That's how we get it. So we can complain on Twitter all we want to. We can show them, we can tag them, but we need to go after the advertisers. And so this is my call to action. If anybody wants to help us research advertisers during money segments that talk about the Royals or whatever, please help us. I can't do it on my own. I literally cannot do it on my own. Actually, I think it's a perfect time to even announce to you guys that I have to take a 2-week break because I got a lot of shit going on in my life and it's not good. So we need help. You know, if people want to help us, we can lay out all the advertisers. We can put everything on the website. We can start writing links to stuff and going after the advertisers for this networks. Because just pointing out that, oh, look at what Camilla said, it's not going to affect anything in a grand scheme of things. It's not. But yesterday was effective. It showed the level of power we have, and we have to keep our feet firmly placed on their necks. MSNBC is not off the hook. For the lady who came into my mentions like, oh my God, you're going after MSNBC. They didn't know, they have black people on the network, blah, blah, blah. I told her,
they're very problematic.
Yeah, I told her, I said, please don't come into my DMs. And I said, if you know where we stand on our platform, then you wouldn't, because she's like, are you from the US? So she doesn't listen to our podcast or anything. Because I was just like, bitch, please leave my DMs. Stop caping. She's like, well, I'm in advertising. I said, okay. She said, but if you go after the advertising, it's going to affect them. I said, exactly.
That's the goal. Exactly. Hello. Hello.
Good point.
Like my point exactly. Like, stay out of my DMs, caping for these people. I said, because she's like, maybe you're making this, taking this too far. Well, let me read this shit to you guys, because I can't even begin to tell you how
taking it too far.
Like, I'm like,
taking it too far. A woman was chased out of a country.
Yeah.
It's not far enough.
We ain't even started yet. We have not gotten retribution yet.
She wrote this whole she was writing stuff for biblical proportion, but this is the thing. I'm going to just go to it. She's like, last post, I follow you and I really like your Instagram. I love seeing your post of Meghan and Harry. And I know your heart is in the right place. I live in the NYC area. I work with the public. A couple of last thoughts. I'm familiar with TV and advertising. Sponsors buy time on a number of programs on the network. So it's not just this one. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I do. It's not just this one slot on the weekend morning, but their products are advertised. They support Joy Reid's show, Craig's Melvin, both fabulous journalists, both Black. Craig is also on the Today Show. Joe Scarborough would have blasted her to the kingdom come. The early morning bookers tend to be young. This person who shut the segment down was most likely the executive producer from the control room. I was just supposing that Meghan wouldn't want that person to get in trouble, or a network so friendly to her in her life causes to be single. I said, I don't.
Whenever they pull that Meghan wouldn't want card, I'm like, click, disconnect. Don't want to hear anymore. Goodbye.
I don't think it's a good thing to make it bigger than it is. I'm sure the lessons learned, just my opinion. And then I responded back. I said, look, we're going to keep. I said, look, we're going to keep pushing and going after the advertiser as we see now that Vanity Fair is doing something on their end. If we have kept quiet and didn't push back, that it wouldn't have happened. MSNBC needs to come out and publicly apologize for this and need to acknowledge that they didn't do the due diligence on their part. That even Soledad O'Brien, Roland Martin are calling this out. You may not care, but we do. We won't let networks continue to give platforms to racism and be silent. So no one is making this bigger than it is. You obviously don't know what we stand for and our ethos, because if you did, you wouldn't dare tell us to ignore racism and that we're calling out because we're calling out racism, we're making it bigger than it is. I said, so this is going to be my last response to you. Goodbye. But we get all this. No, I had to respond to her because
you did what you had to do, but I hate to read those lines when they said Meghan wouldn't have wanted it, blah, blah. So they all know how kind she is, how wonderful soul she has, and they still piling on her. And when now we push back, then they remember that She has a conscience. She's a human being. She won't want it. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Bullshit. I call that house slave mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Well, this is not even this is a white person. She's a white girl. She's a white woman. So she doesn't.
Even more so.
That's, exactly.
I don't care what your race is. It's still that mentality. Let's not upset massa.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that she doesn't, for her, racism is not important. It's not important. It's,
how could
we're
she
making
know? She
exactly.
Has how could she know? She has never faced it before.
Yeah. So that's why I said, don't you dare come into my DM and tell us this, and that. With all that said, our call to action to every single one of you listening to my voice and Michelle's voice and Miss Esther Prayne and Crystal's voice is, yes, you go on somebody's timeline, you drag them on Twitter and social media, go beyond that. We are fighting on a new front now. It's not over just because Harry and Meghan are done, because Dan Wootton, the reason why Dan Wootton is attaching his name to all of these stories is because he wants to get into the American market. And if a vile person like Dan Wootton gets into the American market, it's you guys' fault because you allowed it. And so that's all I'm going to say. We need to fight fire with fire. This is America. This is Meghan's home. We're not going to let them. They're not bringing their brand of racism, brand of narrative about Meghan here without a fight. And in the United States, at least, we have blue checks like Soledad O'Brien, all kinds of people who are going to back Meghan. So that's all I have for today. I don't know if anyone has anything.
Oh, I don't think that I have anything to add. I was carefully listening and I learned a lot, new information. So, no, I can only say thank you for having me. It was my first time. Yes, really.
Thanks for reaching out.
I hope that in the future we'll have time like this to exchange. So really, thank you, ladies, and
thank you
again and again. Happy Women's Day.
Thank you very much. Miss Esther Prayne, do you have anything?
No, just, you know what, despite our bitching, I feel like this was a really good week. We got great content. We see that Meghan is happy. Harry is happy. And so I'm just looking forward to tomorrow, actually, and just knowing that after that, they're done.
Yeah.
They can move forward and start their new lives.
Yeah. Michelle?
Same as Hester Prayne. I just, I'm not really looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to tomorrow when it's going to be done, basically.
Yeah.
When that service is over, when they're going to be in their car, I'm going to be happy. That's it.
Yeah.
When I will hear that they're already in Canada, yes. Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm looking forward to April 1st. And because we know that there's going to be a gaggle of things that they're already up to that they're not releasing yet. So we're going to see that manifest here soon. Michelle and I will probably have a podcast tomorrow just to talk about Commonwealth Day. It's going to be a very quick podcast. If luck will have it, we may do it as a live stream. Don't know. Don't hold us to that, but it just depends.
Wait, you wanted to do a live stream during the service?
No, not during the service. Afterwards. I will be at work.
There's a lot to talk about tomorrow. I think the reporters are expecting to see their former narrative of the Fab Four. I mean, the former Fab Four, because now they have a new one.
Yeah. Well, they have the flat floor now.
Yes, so indeed.
They have the drop floor.
So they want to say it will be the first time, maybe after months, that they will be, reunited somehow.
Yeah, depending on how it goes.
You're going to see a lot of body language experts tomorrow.
Yeah.
And all that shit as usual. And you're going to see.
They have to catch the last fences, the last dimes.
Yeah, but also, they will try to like, I'm really talking about the royal family here. You're going to see them try to, like, be smiley and laughing and talking all the shit that they generally do. You're going to see that tomorrow. You're going to see Meghan is going to be nice. I swear to God, sometimes I'm like, girl, just
You know,
spit on
when
them.
you know that the
spit.
door, I can understand how, when you know that your freedom is just the next door. So she will be all smiling. She will show 42 teeth, and then she will take her plane and she will leave.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you're going to see Prince Charles try to be nice, and the two other motherfuckers being nice. You're going to see this shit, And I'm like, I want Meghan to smile, like listening, and I'm like, okay, but you know what? Fuck you. Here, one thing they keep saying is that they keep saying that the royal family is so disappointed, and I'm like, nobody ever wonders what Meghan thinks of this fucking family. I think she probably looks at them and she's like, these fucking morons. She the first time she met them, she's like, they're dumbasses, She probably thinks that, like, without telling anybody, but they're dumb people, She's like, they're dumb, they're lazy. So she's so happy that they're done with this bullshit, no more, no more of this shit.
Happy with her. Oh gosh.
Well, so tomorrow, Michelle and I will try. If not tomorrow, it will be the day after. We'll try to do a quick podcast just to summarize that, and then I most likely will not be on the next two podcasts, but we will have some guest hosts with Michelle yet to be announced. But so I need a break. I'm going through a lot of stuff right now, and I need time for myself. So that's what I'm going to be doing, in case people want to know.
So if you guys haven't, I don't know if you've thought about your ideas after they leave, but I think it might be cool if there was some kind of like retrospective show where maybe we could look back over the time that they, their years as a role and kind of like some of the high points. Obviously, throughout the course of your podcast, you've talked about some of those, but, this is the closing of a chapter of their life, thank God. And so I think any opportunity we can take to just look back and reflect positively on the contributions that they've made during their time as the Sussexes and how they were doing even before then. So just an idea.
It's a great idea. It's just a matter of setting it all up and researching it. And I just don't know if I have the bandwidth for that right now in terms of researching. So I'll have to see if somebody can help me.
Yeah, of course.
Because I need a break. And so maybe we probably won't do it next week. Maybe we'll do it on March 31st or something like that. You know what I mean? So on the final day or something like that, we'll figure it out. Just kind of do this is the end kind of thing.
Yeah.
What else? For everyone who has supported us, who has listened to this podcast to this point, we really appreciate you. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the podcast on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us comments below. Give us suggestions of what you want to hear. If it's something we've already mentioned, please don't. If you have ideas like Miss Esther Prain just gave us, which was, hey, let's do a look back, that's great. You guys have to remember that it's just Michelle and I, and there's thousands of you guys. So there's only so much two people can do. If you have suggestions, constructive feedback, give them to us, but also give us solutions. And, you can also offer to help us out, be better based on your constructive feedback. Instead of saying, I don't like this, say, hey, this is what I think would be helpful for your podcast. Hey, you... example, I'm going to give example of some of the, this is not the complaint we get, but say, oh, your podcast is too long and it feels like it's disjointed. Understandable. That's a criticism that maybe should be listened to. But instead of just leaving it at that, say, hey, I can maybe help you guys weekly put together what's going on, what happened this week and offer to help that way. So that way you're not just offering a criticism, but you're also offering to help, because you have to remember that Michelle and I are very busy people. We have families. You guys don't know what's going on a personal level for us. You don't know what's going on with our jobs. You don't know what's going on with our business. And we do this because we really care about these two people. And so it gets a bit too much when people are quick to criticize, but never, ever offer a solution or offer to help. So if you have criticism, we're not saying shove it. Let it be constructive, give a solution, and offer to help us out. We are always taking help from people. And, we're always open for help. Michelle, do you have anything else to say?
No.
All right, this is your goal, Michelle. So
yeah. Okay, guys, as the Duchess would always say, no bad energy.
No bad energy,
guys.